Drive differential.
Yep.
This one, Turkey House is destroyed in multiple houses.
Okay, good morning. We'll begin the commissioners meeting for August 7th. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello.
Okay, the first thing we'll do is we have emergency management here. They have something to discuss with us today.
Good morning. I am here to make an official request to declare an emergency declaration for Du Bois County due to the storm damage that occurred overnight. I have no confirmation on a tornado yet, but I, in my years of experience, can tell you that a tornado did hit Du Bois County. Right now I can see a 12-mile path. We will be going out today and doing damage assessments to confirm where the damage is at exactly. We know it's going to start in the Hayesville area and it just kind of goes all the way across the northern part of the county, all the way to almost to Orange County. Orange County was hit as well. Based on the damage that Brent and I saw last night, it's most definitely a tornado. I just don't know how strong the winds were to declare it's an F2 or 3. That's the National Weather Service's job anyway, so they will do that. But I'm here to just request that we do a disaster declaration so that our highway department, our law enforcement, fire departments, everybody can get out there and get this cleaned up. And we'll see if it would help us to qualify for any kind of assistance. I'm not saying that we have enough damage yet, but if we don't declare, we automatically will not qualify for anything. So that is my reason for being here this morning.
Okay, will you please present the
I have 4 copies that I'll need 4 signatures on, and you can all sign that, please. I appreciate it. I don't know, we got last one. No injuries reported.
For the record, we have seen photos of homes where the roofs have been torn off. There's been very large trees
Yes,
torn up.
trees in homes, cornfields just leveled, turkey houses destroyed. It's the biggest thing I've seen since 2011, so widespread. Yeah. That was my initiation, 2011.
And then when was Ireland, 2017?
I believe that's correct, yeah. We've had so many, honestly, 12 altogether since my time as director, so that's a lot. I will keep everybody updated on what National Weather Service states. I may even know that today, but I will put out a press release letting everybody know in the county what we find as far as damage and what the National Weather Service labels it. And I'll just keep you notified via email or text message.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Brent, the highway department, we got on the phone immediately, the 2 of us, and he said, "How bad is it?" And I said, "You need everything you can get." I already knew then that we were in for a mess.
It's a mess.
And it ended up being bigger than what I even thought it was. So, yeah.
The thing that astounded me is that we got so far and also you hit a line and just the trees just like exploded. There nothing, so boom, there's like, holy crap.
Yeah. And then the stuff that's over the roadways was just, you drive just a bit and then you have to cut your way and then drive a bit. We had the fire chief of Hayesville, wasn't even able to get out of his home. So they had to go clear him out. So that's where we'll start our assessment. It's up in Hayesville and then we'll work our way across the county. So But I will keep you guys posted and everything. Thank you for this.
And I would say that with the highway
So
department,
this
what I thought this morning was my gratitude that because of the work they did in the middle of the night, it didn't, my day wasn't interrupted. You know, I was able to get out and come to work, and that's one of the services that county government provides, and people, you know, it's not always this obvious, but this.
It was- I had to say I was pretty impressed because fire, so Hayesville, Du Bois, Celestine. even
Lost River from.
Lost River,
County
yeah, they
came.
came over, then you had RAC working,
Yep,
there were flashing lights everywhere up there, but there were people working their tails off. It wasn't just us, it was
No,
fire
it-
departments were out of this world also.
yeah,
So-
they've been out, they went out immediately. My husband's on the Du Bois Fire Department. He left the house immediately when the tornado hit and didn't come home until it was like 5:30 this morning. He came back in the house. So, the other thing I forgot to mention, there is a lot of debris. So Brent and I have already are working with Carla with Solid Waste to come up with where we're going to, we have a debris plan that has just been updated and is active. So she's working on setting those locations, and we'll get those words out to everybody too, that we'll need to move debris to a different location. Highway department will know where to take it, et cetera, so. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you
Thank
guys.
you very much, guys.
Brent, if you need anything, just
Okay.
give me a call. I'll
Yeah,
be
we-
in and out, but you got my number.
Yeah, I'm gonna take off north, when I get out of here, I'll take off north. See where
We
the
never
guys are
did
at.
formally approve the declaration,
Oh,
so
sorry.
I'll move that we approve the local disaster emergency declaration. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have minutes from the previous meeting, July 17th. Anyone have any amendments? No. I'll move that we approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We had the county treasurer's monthly report that was made available for our review. We have payroll. We have that for the last two payrolls, August 2nd and July 19th. Any changes, questions with that?
No concern.
I'll move that we approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Then we have the claims. Anybody have any changes or concerns with those?
No.
No. I'll move that we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And now we have the highway report.
Okay. So here we go. Safe Streets for All action plan. So our RFPs were sent out July 21st. I have several responded with questions, and then I had a few say thanks but no thanks. So they sent us a letter just acknowledging that I did try to ask for people. LOIs are due August 14th. So the next commissioner meeting, hopefully I have a scored thing and we can get somebody approved and get somebody going on. So that's the plan as of right now. Federal Highway's on board, but they're well aware of our schedule. So. Paving wise, the only thing left to pave is Celestine North, Kellerville, and 1100. They were able to get 300 North and 325 East done last week. So that was a pleasant surprise. They were able to sneak it in and get it done. So that was good. So we're down to 2 more projects. Okay, and this is the big one here. So Highway Department new hires. So we have our current weed spray. The guy who drives truck sprayed weeds. He had to have a foot, something done to his foot, so he's out the next 6 weeks. Unfortunately, that's, weeds are growing pretty heavily right now. So we're requesting that we hire someone on a temporary basis to replace him. And since he is a part-time help anyways, we don't pay Ricky, we're not out there. So we'd like to be able to use that to pay, hire a new guy. Gerald Butel has agreed to do it. With your guys' approval, he has taken a drug screen and everything's good to go. He's ready to go if you guys are.
So will he be, I apologize, I was listening only partially there. So will he replace the other employee, or will the other employee come back later?
Well, we usually have our sprayer done by Labor Day. So we're gonna have to go a little longer, but Ricky won't be back in time. So once the end of the season, Gerald will go off for the winter, and then maybe next year we might be able to have 2. If Gerald likes it well enough, which is our ideal goal anyways.
Gerald's well aware.
Yes, yep. Yeah, he knows he's got about 6 weeks worth of time with us, and then he's done.
So it's not really a new position, it's just a different person filling in the same position.
Correct.
I'll move that we approve the request.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, District 3 truck driver. So you guys interviewed for the spots, and we would like to recommend the hiring of Chance Hossenauer. He did accept the position, and he went in for his drug screen and physical on Friday. So we'll know the results sometime this week. So what I'm requesting is, permission to hire him, barring his passing his physical and his drug screen. Sorry, that phone call. So then, and also he said he would like to start August 14th if everything passes. So which is good, get him on sooner. He's working for somebody part-time, so he has the ability.
So, anybody have any questions for Brenda on the hire?
So initial pick that you had, he backed out due to current.
Yeah, his current employer made him an offer that he could pass up.
Okay.
And count offers.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
I'll move that we approve the hiring of Chance Hossenauer pending administrative process.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Okay. I will let them know to get him on board. The stress road application, I submitted that on July 27th. I don't know really how long it takes to get processed or approval, so I'll know more, but I just want to put it on the list so that way we can get that done. The stress road, if we get the loan, we're gonna pay that next year, so additional $1 million towards paving next year. Then the last 2 pages are just the progress for chip seal. Most of our chip sealing is complete for the year. The only one we have to do is 600 North. That one with is it the hope that came in. We wanted to walk, he dedicated right away, and he paid for half of it. So it wasn't taking us much to get that road prepped. We were gonna do it this week, but then a bomb went off. So we're gonna wait till it dries out until we get time to get out there and get that done.
Can you remind me, you say you're going to the bottom of the hill? Or that's
Yes,
crazy?
the bridge. Yep. Correct.
Thank you for the update. I don't have any questions.
No questions.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Brandon.
So earlier when you were saying that fire departments come out, are they out chainsawing and doing that kind of thing as well?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, like I said, we hang our hats that our highway department responds very well to this stuff, but it's even cooler to see how the fire departments work right alongside. So, if you go down a road, you see red and whites down a road, okay, they got that, you can go to the next one, and you kind of work their way around it. It worked out really well.
A good feeling.
The only thing that we need to do, and that's not something that's we have to do right now, is like how we can compete, or how we can converse with the fire departments.
Sure.
Because right now they're on a different channel than we are. So we have a couple guys that are on the fire department, which is great because then they can call and we can talk that way. But it'd be nice to have a radio system where we can communicate with them completely. Everybody can. And it's something that's just a pipe dream. It doesn't have to happen by any stretch now.
so your initial job is to just get it off the road so the roads are passable, and then you come back later in the week and get it
Yep.
out of the right of way,
Correct.
get it out of ditches.
Clean out the ditches, haul the debris away to these spots if we have to, chip them up, do things like that. Yeah.
Mr. Schneider, was it last week, which issue was it that we didn't want to move forward in the agenda? There was something that we needed to talk to about 11, was it solar? Or was it?
Yes. Up today?
Yes.
Yes.
We wanted to make sure that we did it at that time in case for some reason we found this. Well, another item that's on here for discussion, since we have 10
Yeah.
minutes, the travel policy exception. Are you familiar with what that request is?
I'm not familiar with the request.
Okay, so the AIC is going to be held
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
French Lick, and there's
Right.
one person who's on the committee to help, huh?
I'm on the committee.
Okay, so there's multiple people on the committee, I don't know who was exactly. Our travel policy states that if it's less than 50 miles away, then we don't pay for hotel rooms. And it used to be further than that. During our time, we switched that to 50 miles to make it, so the other bill was acceptable to get out of town. So the question here was for people like auditor and the recorder, if they're on the committees, would it be okay for them to get a room? My thought was, if they're on the committee and they have duties that require them to be there early in the morning or late at night, I wouldn't necessarily have any problem changing the travel policy for them, for this one case.
I told the committee I was going to be driving back and forth, so. I've been on the committee for probably 3 months.
Okay, I can try to get that done, yeah.
So-
I was on it 20
Okay,
or something.
thanks. Yeah.
I stayed up there, but I had a account room for my uncle who gambled too much. So I didn't, the county didn't have to pay for my room, but, so I was able to stay, but it is handy if you have duties early in the morning or late at night. So, if we approved it or didn't approve it, it's not gonna, I like sticking by the handbook most of the time. But in this case, if somebody is taking on extra duties like Sandy or anybody, they wanna stay, I don't mind making that exception.
I'm on the fence, it sounds like both of you guys are okay with this.
I'm okay.
I recently had, was a dance competition for my daughter, and she had to be up there some days at 7 o'clock in the morning. We just got up early, there about, you know, sometimes it ran till 9 o'clock at night. But just, it's not that far.
Because I have to be there on Sunday afternoon. We're gonna start work on Sunday afternoon. I just told my husband, you go next thing, we'll drive up together, we'll go back home.
And your mileage is correct?
It's paid, yeah, you get paid for your mileage.
Yeah.
The one argument they have is we have a training fund that has a lot of money in it that is for these purposes.
I think that's for certain kind of, I mean, that's just not.
Oh, for state call.
I think it's for state call, it's not just carte blanche, you do what you want with it, but I don't know.
So my initial thing was, no, there's a rule.
Mhm.
And then she came back and asked again, and so I would be okay either way if we want to say no or if we want to say okay.
I'm okay with it.
I'm gonna stick to the handbook.
Okay. Let's see exactly what the handbook is. I'm sure it's just this
I think
50
it's
miles.
50 miles.
I already adjusted it once to get out, so.
Little thing, I don't know, meals are provided probably at these conferences, but they're not.
Usually, yeah.
I don't know what the duties are as far as being on the committee.
Now, when we, as being on the host committee, we are gonna ask people, like, if I need help, like, maybe we can do a shift to sit at the registration table for a couple hours. We are gonna ask a lot of people to do that kind of stuff, so where do you draw the line? You know, we could have 10 or 12 people volunteering to do something.
But being on the committee, you have to be there full time, the entire time, and
Well, I just
instead of to break down.
Well, I think we're gonna divvy out those duties, because, you know, it goes between the registration tables, the banquet tables, the dinner, the, you know, whatever. And so, you can't do it all.
I guess I'll say that if somebody's on the host committee, and maybe I'll just say that it's just an exception for this one time, and it's for people only that are members of the host committee. And I would approve the exception, so it sounds like we've got 2 commissioners on board with that, and maybe 1 opposed. That way, if it's just me, for example, I may go for 1 day. I wouldn't be eligible. So I'll move that we grant the exception to the travel policy so that members of the, what do you call it? The host committee. The host
For the
committee can stay,
Conference?
can have a hotel room for the night of, or the nights of the AIC convention, or whatever you call it.
That'll be from Sunday to Thursday, maybe. Sunday, some of us are getting together to work on stuff. I think it starts Monday. And then we'll start Thursday.
Say AIC, you're talking about AIC, yeah, it starts Monday.
So,
But see, like, I'm on the committee,
Right.
meeting on Sunday afternoon already.
Yeah, they usually are, that's what ours is too, our state association, it was me the day before.
okay, so we have a motion. Looking for a second.
Sorry.
You still vote against it.
Sorry.
Yeah, we got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we have, that motion passes.
It's all right. It's not the first time
Attention to this and this.
Second.
Will you let them know if the people that are?
Yeah.
Just you two?
As far as I know, we're the
Okay.
ones on the committee.
Oh, good. Well, that's easy enough then.
I mean, yeah, she just joined it.
Okay, good. Well, it's just two people, so that makes it even easier. Next up, we'll talk about this other discussion item. I don't think Mr. Madden needs to be here. The Community Corrections Director's Hours, I have that under discussion items. What happened in that situation over the last month, we've taken the community corrections from the new jail pod, which was built for the sheriff's department as a jail. That's where community corrections has been operating out of that facility while their room was, or their building was remodeled. So their remodel was substantially completed, so they moved back in. Also over the last now it's been longer than 3 weeks, but over the last month, we'll say, there's been a lot of work moving people from one building into another, and just a lot going on. So over the last 3 pay periods, the staff, whenever they had overtime or more time than the normal schedule, they were granted PTO. The director would have, let's say he was a non-exempt employee, would have accrued approximately 141 comp hours over that time, but because of him being an exempt employee, doesn't earn anything. So that means he doesn't get any big time off or any additional stuff. By the book, he wouldn't. So he asked one time a few weeks ago, is there anything that can be done for that? I've spent a lot of extra time. I said, by the book, no, you're expected to do whatever it takes to get the job done within that time period. That's part of being a manager or the head of the department, whatnot. And then I suppose I thought about it, 141 hours is probably, over the course of 3 or 4 weeks, is a substantial additional ask. It kind of reminds me of the health department during COVID, where we had a director, and we had a couple people that they put in hundreds of extra hours that we legally didn't have to pay them for, but morally or ethically, maybe it was a nice idea to give them something, and we did that. So with him, I just thought I'd bring it up for discussion if we felt like we should offer him something in the way of PTO for those extra hours that he put in, or if we should just tell him, thanks for your extra effort, but that's just kind of how it is. Since June 18th, some of the things he and the staff have completed, 5 of them deep cleaned, sanded, and primed and painted 50 bunks. So whenever the bunks that the people live, sleep in, the 2-piece steel things, they personally sanded them down, painted them, redid it themselves, and that took a lot of extra hours. That would have been very expensive had we had a third party do that. And last week, he worked around the clock to ensure that his staff received the support they needed to make the transition into the new building. I'll say I've been pretty impressed with his work ethic, and everything he's done to help get this project done. He's on top of everything. If there's a piece of stainless steel that could be sharp, that could hurt a participant, if there's locks that are wrong, or thresholds, or concrete, he's been a really good partner to help with this project. I don't know, I just want to bring that up for discussion, see what the board thought about that.
PTO time?
Yes, that's what, my suggestion would be we consider giving him a portion of that time in some PTO time.
I don't know if you can do
Well, you think we could just pay him, you mean?
Well, I mean, you'd have to amend the handbook or do some kind of, wouldn't you?
I think it's probably at our discretion if we wanted to grant some PTO to an employee.
So that was over the course of 3 pay periods.
Yes, and I did forward those to you last night, I think was, so
I
I
didn't
didn't
have it open here. It just says 47 hours a week additional.
I mean, he was there a lot, and I was talking to him late at night, weekends, and, you know, he puts in a lot of time. Again, do I think we should give him 141 hours of comp time? I don't. I mean, part of being in that position, because he's not gonna do that all the time.
Are you thinking half, or are you thinking?
My initial thought was to give him a week's worth, that's where I was gonna start, to give him 40 hours over a week of PTO, but I didn't know if you two would think that was way too much, not enough, or we shouldn't do it at all.
141 hours, it's a lot extra.
And in reality too, that's probably a little misleading because you get time and a half, so that is counted as time and a half.
Okay.
Okay,
I was trying to figure out how you're looking at extra 47 hours a week. That would drive somebody in the ground.
Yeah, right, so he's probably worked 75.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
But any other employee, if it was someone in like a 35-hour worker, they would get hour to hour for those first 5 hours, whatever, 35, then hour and a half for everything over that. He's a 40-hour employee. So this would just be for things over 40.
I want to reward people for the extra effort they put in and recognize that effort. But on the flip side of that, I think it creates a slippery slope where, and I'm not saying in this situation that's what he's doing, but it creates a situation where the person in charge, like him, could use that to get it back in return, or in hopes of getting it back in return.
Right, I think
Whereas most employees who are putting in these extra hours being asked by a supervisor, this is a supervisor.
right, so if we want to say thanks and that's just how it is, or if we want to say a portion, I did bring it up to the council president too, to see if they thought that there was any issue with it. I don't think he had a problem with it necessarily, some area. Again, he said if it was 141 hours, we're gonna give him those probably. That's not how it works, but. So, I'm with you though, I mean, when we did it for the health department, it made me feel a little uncomfortable too.
So I guess my thoughts are at this point that, you know, that was a COVID related thing. This is, you know, the remodel. Obviously, circumstances are somewhat out of control. But I feel like maybe since it's happened 3 times now in the last few years, we should address that further so that if it comes up again, we have a better idea how to do it.
So on one hand, when I was thinking of this situation, I thought he would have been within his rights to say, I got my time in. Or maybe I'll put my time in a little more. Had he done that, I think we would have been in bad shape up there because we need leadership.
he went the extra mile.
He would have,
Right.
so yeah, he would have been within his rights to say,
Change.
you know,
I agree, but maybe should have addressed it earlier and said, hey, look, I'm gonna have to put in all these extra hours. I just, you know.
and he was understanding when I said, this isn't usually what we do, we're not gonna do it. I mean, I don't think he's gonna,
Abuse it.
I just don't think he's gonna be super angry had he not, but.
I worry about the precedent it sets and that could create
I
abuse.
don't know. I mean, he went the extra mile to
I
get
totally
this.
understand. I'm not saying we should deny him, I'm just saying that we probably need to address this further. And come up with something either to put into the handbook or, you know, how we're gonna handle this in the future. And I think for one, it should be discussed beforehand, not after you put in all the extra hours. So,
After the fact.
And to your point too, this is for extraordinary, what I would say generation, or not generational, but like, let's say generational. It's the things that happen once every 25 years.
right,
And I'm okay giving him a week of PTO time. on that. or the extra mile.
Mhm.
You know, I'm okay, but just like you said, addressing it before instead of after would have been the ideal situation.
I felt uneasy about the COVID situation too, just, you know,
Can always make an exception.
right,
I think in that case too, it was hundreds of hours.
right, it was. No, I think I'm comfortable with going ahead and giving him a week. He does good work up there, appreciate the work he does, and want to reward it, but we probably ought to discuss this further.
Cindy, do you believe that there is something we need to look at to, I mean, I know you mentioned that it may not be,
I mean, I don't know, exception to the handbook, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I think we have the authority to do that.
I mean, you're not giving him any extra money,
Well, these are PTO hours that,
you're just granting an extra
we don't
5
pay
days
out
of
at the end of the
PTO.
year, correct? Because that would be one stipulation, I'd say, is if we give him an extra week of PTO, it would be a use it or lose it, not a paid out at the end of the year if you don't use it.
You don't pay out vacation time.
Okay, I didn't think so.
They can only carry over so many and it's used to lose.
And if he carries it over, I don't have a problem with that.
'Cause I think you can carry over 6 or 9 days one year.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and make the motion then that we would grant Mr. Madden 40 hours of PTO time.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Looks like we are now, Sarah's here. Come on down.
So to be used by the end of the year or carried over per the policy.
Sure.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
I have
Thank
this is a report I put together, just a little packet for you all to go over. So I'm Sarah Walker. I'm with Southern Indiana Adult Guardianship Services. I recognize your faces from last year, but I'm here with my counterpart, Natasha Hopper. And we just wanted to give you all an update. We came about this time last year, and we were new to Du Bois County in that we picked up the county under our grant, under our VASIA grant, right before COVID. So we didn't really get a chance to get out in the community and, kind of educate and take cases and, support the court and the community like we wanted to at that time. We did so virtually a bit, as much as we could, but then last year, when things started opening back up, we were able to really hit the ground running. And in the last year, we've done a lot. We've been here so much. We've been in the community a lot, and we really love it here. We've been welcomed, and we've seen a lot of good work that we, can be a part of as far as guardianship goes, in supporting, the hospital system, the court system, local nursing facilities as well. So I logged our hours in our database just to paint a picture of what we've done in the last year. We have 72 full work days just in Du Bois County alone over the last year, which to me is huge. I mean, we do serve 5 counties, so that's a lot of time that we were directly here. We also had 1 case when we came here last year, so we had 1 under guardianship, and now today we have 11 current guardianships out of Du Bois County, and we have 2 pending cases actually today. We have court right before lunch today, so we have those 2 which we anticipate we will take on. Those are cathedral referrals. We've seen a lot of activity out of the cathedral nursing facility, who is underserved with guardianship. So we've been able to really fill a void there, I believe. We also have a new volunteer in Du Bois County that we were able to secure, and she's visited locally and provided that kind of one-on-one. We're an hour away, so if we can't be there on the drop of a dime, then she can be because she's a local person. So that's been great. We accounted for about 22,000 worth of staff time and about 1,300 in mileage to come here twice a month over the last year. So our funding that was allotted last year by you all was exhausted fully in the county. We also aided Du Bois County through education opportunities, and most of our referrals came from, like I said, Du Bois, Circuit Court, APS, long-term care, and we also provided education to our volunteers and to the community. Additionally, we applied for a community foundation grant. We were granted $5,000 from the community foundation. So on the second page, I put together a little photo lineup of some of the great things we got to do with the grant. So we presented to different organizations such as Memorial Hospital on what we do and provided them lunch. So that was great. We also had an event on March 23rd. It was I called it a lunch and learn, where we brought in a giant inflatable dementia brain, and it was at St. Joseph Church. Is that the name of the church? St. Joseph Catholic, yeah, really cool church. That was neat. So we set up the brain, and a lot of community members came and toured it and learned a lot about dementia, and just being aware of all the intricacies that come with that disease. And we had lots of speakers, and it was a great event. So a good way to get our name out there and educate on what we do, guardianship and dementia, all the things that we deal with in our line of work. So that was great. So really, we're just here to ask for ongoing support of our grant so that we can continue to serve Du Bois County and continue to take cases as we see the need for them. And I think I cited last year that our biggest county currently is Lawrence County, and that's where we piloted, where we started. And the population size is very similar to Du Bois in Lawrence County, so I anticipated that we would have similar numbers here. Currently, in Lawrence, we have about 25 cases. So I do expect Du Bois to acquire that many cases in the coming years. I fully anticipate that, just given the need that we've seen here over the last year. So I think that's probably all I wanted to say. Is there any questions that you all have for our program? Or?
And Sarah, just for, I don't know if Commissioner Stefan was here, but I don't think, do you know what this program's all about? It's basically CASA.
Yeah,
It's kind of like CASA for developmentally disabled adults
Yes.
or dementia patients.
Very similar. So CASA serves anybody under 18, so children, and we serve everyone over 18. So VASI, it stands for Volunteer Advocates for Senior Incapacitated Adults. I'm sorry, I thought you were here last year too.
Okay,
So
I kind of gathered it from
Yeah.
the
So
info.
our my 30-second thing is we step in when there's no willing or able family to step in a guardianship case. Maybe a victim of abuse or exploitation, family's not appropriate anymore, or they've outlived family. We have a lady who's 102 years old, so she had one child and he's no longer living. So we step in cases like that. Our clients have their diagnoses are anywhere from Down syndrome to dementia, kind of that range of anything that would deem someone incapacitated, so unable to make their own decisions. So that's what we do, is we do that. We come in and be their guardian, and we visit. We're hands-on guardians. We're not just taking calls and signing paperwork. We're visiting and trying to make them, thrive as much as they can within their capacity. So if there's a way to facilitate a better life for our clients, we do that. So we take a lot of pride in that. So that's kind of our spiel of our program. But
What was the county's input last year?
last year, you all granted us 10,000. So that's what we had last year. Yes,
Is that what you're requesting again this
it
year?
would be. Yes.
I would support moving forward with that myself, and everybody on board with that. And I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm glad that your numbers here have grown a little bit
Yes.
this year.
Yeah, I knew they would, and like I said, it's the resources here are vast, and it's been a great county to work in. We're so happy to be here, and would love to continue the work that we're doing.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in
Yes,
and
thank you so much.
seeing us again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Weston, if you wanted to redo that other thing, all I said I would do is let them know to come up earlier if you want to talk about solar sometime, if you think there's going to be a window there.
You'll let who know to come up here?
The firm down the street, Denton's.
Oh, okay, so that's who might show up.
Yeah. If it was going to be earlier, I could just let them know.
At this time, I think we'll just move through the agenda, and if we get ahead of schedule, then we'll let you go. Just work on that.
Yes, sir.
Are we gonna wait for Mr. Vonderhyde? Mayor Vonderhyde? Mr. Vonderhyde, you have changed.
Okay, I have, yes, and I will not be a new mayor, so thank you for letting us come in to talk to you. Mayor Vonderhyde was intending to be here. He picked the date, and then life happens, and the storm hit his house at the farmhouse, so he had priorities that were needed. So I'm taking over for his spot, but unfortunately, I don't have all the information that he had. So we're looking at this as a request of a discussion to go back and forth for reopening the restrooms on the west side of the courthouse by adding technology and looking at hours that we would prefer 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. And I will give you information here shortly. So the mayor was going to come because he had all the information that during the revitalization meetings, we had representatives from the county at the meeting. And the discussion was to proceed together since the revitalization affected the county and the city. And that's when the discussion came in about the handicap accessible, to build that on the west side or on the east side, not use the west side, but we would keep the restrooms open on the east side so that we could use those as for the public. And I was at the meeting too, so I think the takeaway, Mayor will have the people who were there, and he has more information that he was going to bring with him, so you can always ask him. But I was at the meeting too, and the takeaway was that we would be able to keep the restrooms open on the west side. So understanding that you have everybody, security, we want to have secure, and that you had closed the restrooms there due to security, we would like to propose that we talk about technology added on the west side so that we can have the restrooms open, whether it's one restroom or the entire thing or whatever. We did get a quote from Astro. So we can talk about that, but I'm going to give you just copies here of what we would like. And that way you can have it and look it over, because again, if you have more questions about the actual meeting, that way you can talk to Mayor Vonderheide, because he was going to go over the details of what we had discussed. And then when you're looking at for the community, when you really think about the county, I mean, it's a service to have the restrooms open. It's a historic building. It's centrally located. Everybody knows where those restrooms are. The handicap accessible is already there. I mean, if you're fiscally conservative like our area is, why would you build a whole nother restroom when you have them there? And the technology is available to be able to do that. So Astro did make a visit. They do have a quote there that's included. Actually, we don't have the actual quote. I have one copy here. So we can email you copies of that. But we have the total there of $25.95. And I'm sure that as we would go through, it could be other things that come up, but they did take a look at it. So what the ideal situation would be is that with the technology, they would make it secure so that you feel secure as a county courthouse, but that people, as they come downtown and they're using the new area there, and we're looking at it as a community gathering, not just for Jasper, but for everybody to come and enjoy the historic building. You have a lot of veterans that come and look at the outdoor there. They look at the names, they sit down, you have different things. So it's not just about Jasper, but it's about the community. And there are aging people, they're little kids, they can't, even when you're open, they can't run up those steps on the east side all the way down and down there and hold it that long. It's just too far. And the accessibility from the west side is there. Not only that, we've seen with tourism at our store and others downtown that we actually have an increase in tourism. So people are coming when we're not open. We're happy to give, I don't mind people using our restrooms. A lot of people do use the restrooms in the place, but like poor Sandy with Tell City Pretzels, they have to go through her area and put on a head wrap and do other things. And other people, and Jamie, it's things where you can't really get in there and use the restroom. So they use our restrooms all the time during the day. We're not upset about that. It's just that there are a lot of other hours, and we want to build community. We want to have people gather. We want to have people with the Astra and others where they know where that bathroom is. Everybody knows that bathroom is there. And again, being fiscally conservative, why would we build a whole nother one when it is there and the technology will work for it to work? So our goal is that we meet the needs of the downtown business owners and the community while not compromising the security of the courthouse in the downtown area. So rather than coming up with a solution today, I'm sure you all need to think about it, check it out. These are what we're hoping that you'll talk about and that we can meet and discuss further. And again, if you want more information on the revitalization meeting with the mayor, that would be the best thing. But I just got some of the names at a meeting of the downtown and I attached that. That was just like a 5 to 10 minute. We can get a lot more signatures. Everybody, I don't know one person who doesn't want those bathrooms open. Let's put it that way. So I think as far as your service as a county, to the community, I look at it as a service. I mean, it's there, it's available for people, and why would we not have that open? Now, I'm sure for the maintenance and the cleaning and all that, all those things are up for discussion. We don't know. Maybe there could be a camera on the outside if we're afraid of vandalism or we're afraid of, somebody doing some things that you shouldn't be doing, then we have to maybe look at an additional camera or something too. So I'm not saying this is the exact answer, but I'm hoping that we can work together because it's a really crucial, vital part to the success of what we're doing down here. So do you have questions for me?
So you have a quote from Astra?
I do have one here. I'd like for it back. It's actually my only, that's the amount.
Okay.
And, as far as they're taking a look, because they do the courthouse information, so, they should know. But again, you all know the area too. You might have other questions for them. But again, it would be different 20 years ago if technology hadn't changed so much. But it should be easier. And I'm sure, again, maintenance, we understand is an issue, but that's what we need to talk about. I mean, if that's the only issue, that really is not an excuse, in my opinion, not to open them up just because of maintenance. I mean, we have to maintain everything. So I just think that it's time to look at it again and see if there's a solution, what solution we can come up with. Because it's not just the downtown area, it's really the whole community. They're going to be gathering, and that's what we want to do. And there are other events and things, and we put the events on there because that was your request. Those are not all our events. Those are the time periods, and that was what was, asked for us. So we just included those, but we really feel like for the public, the 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. is the time period where then they know it's open. And, it's not like, oh, do you know this hour or that hour? And they always have to check and go down. So any questions for me or anyone else need to, if that's fair?
So what is the electronic technology solution? What does it do?
What does it do? It has a key card. So on here, it says they'll install a new electrified HES door stripe on the interior door near the restroom basement. They'll install a new secure key door access controller in the basement IT area. It would be in the same location as the existing door access controllers. They'll install a new secure key smart card reader and would interface onto the existing door access system. And the equipment is here. So I'll just give you this. If we need another one, we'll. You would enter from the west side and then it would be secure. So anyone using the west side would come in and they couldn't get through. So they can't get through to the courthouse. And if you're a courthouse employee, then you're gonna have a key to come in.
Right
That
now,
was
none
my
of our
understanding.
keys work for the west door anymore, they took that access away.
Well, they're saying they're saying that they can change that. So that if you're an employee and you want to use the restroom, you will have access to the restroom. And then you
Oh, so
go
yours
back.
are the interior doors?
Yes, and then from the outside, they would be able to go in, but they can't go in anymore.
So what happens to public that are in the basement? How do they get out? You can always get out, you can't get back in, is that?
The public in the basement, would they always go
Like
through the east door?
No, we have people who use the basement library, for example. And if they have to use the restroom, they go out and use that bathroom and then they come back in. They wouldn't be able to come back in if they went out to use the bathroom.
So those are the kind of questions that we have to ask Astro. They said they would be able to figure all that out. I'm not really your tech person,
I think
so.
really what would have to happen would be, it would have to go back to the way it was during the regular part of the day. With the business hours and then on the weekends, the interior door would be locked. I mean, it's similar to how it was before.
So somebody could have it on their phone, on an app, and you can lock and unlock and that too. But yes, you're right, it probably should just be from 8 to 4 then, the regular hours, and then from 4 to 10.
You just took back the security that we just put in.
So were you, or was Elmer on that downtown committee? I don't remember.
Elmer was there, I'm pretty sure.
Primarily it was Elmer.
Okay. Because my understanding at that time was that the idea was brought up for bathrooms over in this area because it was shot down. That's the only part, that's what I remember from this conference.
Well, and then,
Brandon, could you,
Sorry,
have you attended all the downtown revitalization meetings?
I've kind of got away from them because I've got busy in other things, so I haven't been to them in a while, no.
But I mean, previously, whenever there was talks in the restroom, do you recall what those talks were as it related to?
I know that there was talks of building an independent restroom up here somewhere. And there was talks of trying to utilize the courthouse. There never was a fine line on where all that went. I do know that money was an issue of building its own independent restroom. That was talk there too.
I mean, it's, I guess everybody hears what they want to hear. I was at the meeting. When I left, I thought we were gonna have open the west side. And that was my understanding. And again, the mayor knew all the revitalization, so he knew all that. So that's why I'm sorry that, you'll have to talk to him too. But his understanding was that we would be able to have access here, otherwise they would have planned for it. And again, there was a location that was talked about, but that certainly was not the ideal location. And again, handicap accessible and all that, it's already there. So to spend a lot more money on putting in that, my understanding at the end of the meeting is that you got your handicap accessible there, and then we got the west side of the restrooms open. So, and I think that was the mayor's understanding also, and that's why I'm sorry that he couldn't be here, but he did have an emergency and just felt like that took priority.
I don't know what was discussed at those meetings as far as whether or not they agreed to keep those restrooms open. But I think the security concerns are legitimate, and our security committee had met, what was it, about a year ago?
A couple of times, we've met a couple of times in the
And
last.
that restroom is a legitimate concern. It allows people into the building. And if somebody were to do something nefarious inside the building, it could get really bad, really fast, and no amount of cameras is gonna fix that. It doesn't change what happens. Cameras don't prevent crime, they catch it on camera. I think as far as I'm concerned, I would fully support building a new restroom that's handicap accessible, and the county, in my opinion, I would support the county spending some of our dollars to help build it. But I think that's the solution. I don't think I can get behind reopening the restrooms in the courthouse.
Can you talk to Astro just to verify that there's not something new and something that would be,
No matter what, it's still allowing people into the building. So,
but they're not really able to go farther. I mean, especially at 4 o'clock, they're only able to go to the restrooms.
I understand that, but it's still,
So it's really not in the building. I mean, it's just.
I'm not, I mean, you're in the building, and you're right along the foundation, and if somebody were to come in there and,
But isn't that even happening now? I mean, if somebody wanted to really do something bad, they could come in. I mean, they wouldn't enter that way, but they could still do harm. I mean.
I'm not talking active shooter, I mean, I hate to say it aloud, but if somebody came and planted a bomb in our basement, that whole building would crumble. And I don't think it's worth, I don't think any amount of electronic security is gonna keep them from doing that. Keeping them out of the building can help prevent that from happening. I don't even think maybe that could 100% stop it. I mean, we saw what happened in Oklahoma City. But I don't understand why we wouldn't support building a new freestanding restroom exactly for the purpose that it is. We just spent buku dollars on our square, and I don't think a restroom would cost that much in the long term.
The thing with our security, I'm on the security committee. This is something, we had a person from the Supreme Court come down and they give guidance on how they want what's gonna be the most safe for the most people in the courthouses. And this is something they wanted 8 years ago, 10 years ago already. And we never could do it because we didn't have accessibility to the building previously, because that was our only handicap accessible entrance. But the judge, prosecutor, everybody that's on that committee they say, have a single point of entrance and have your security person there. And they would also like to have people, metal detectors and things like that for people to come in the building, just to make a single point of entrance, one place for people to be observed and be scanned before they came in. And I thought, as I was thinking about this, I'm like, how big of an issue is this? And I just did a quick Google search in July of 2020. Jordan McDaniels, attempted murder of Jaheim McDaniels, these are in North Carolina. 2 bailiffs were shot to death in a county courthouse in St. Joseph in Michigan. Randolph County, there were people that were shot, 32-year-old shot there. I mean, I've got all the list of, I don't need to go through it.
And
But
we all
we're just
never-
really worried about, and the judges especially, because that's gonna be the person who, they're the ones that put me in jail. It's not my bad actions that put me in jail.
So you're
It's-
more concerned about a bomb than anything else as far as planting it there, because they really wouldn't get access, there to the building.
Well, I think his concern
But
is
even
that,
there, if somebody came in legally through the top door and then went down there and opened the restroom door, they could let somebody else in with,
Well, they wouldn't have it, they'd have to have a key to get into the
they
restroom.
have to have a key to get out. Because if somebody walks down the stairs and opens that door, they can let someone in.
Well,
So,
I mean, that's where employee training.
I mean, I know you guys need a solution, and I'm all on board with helping the city put together a plan to put a downtown restroom somewhere. I think it probably should have been done when we did the square, and I'm on board to help with that, but I don't think the courthouse restrooms are the answer.
Well, thanks for your time, and I hope that you continue to still talk to Astro or if there's any other solution, because we're still, it's a very demanding action from anyone who visits. It's like, what are you doing? So it just looks bad when we do something really good, when we thought that they were open. Again, that brings back to the meeting. So I would hope that you would just talk to the mayor just to go over what was discussed at that point, because he has more of the meeting minutes and all that. And again, it's just one of those things that I would rather that you get the information from him so that, it's thorough.
and for me, I think I'm with Commissioner Hossiter, we agree with you, we want there to be a solution, we don't want you to keep coming back and asking to use the basement, we think it would be safer and better. I've been to other downtowns and they have a sign to restrooms over here, and then people know where these are now. And if we had a restroom similar to what's up at the next to Cabby O'Neill up there, I agree with him that I think that would be a solution that we could get behind and we could help fund.
Help with some money.
Yeah, so we want there to be a solution. I don't like when you come in and we have to
We want to
Poo-poo.
work.
I want everybody to be safe. I mean, that would be the
Yeah.
worst, to have something happen. But again, we were excited with the technology because technology wasn't here 10 years ago to do that. And that's kind of where we felt like that would work. So,
And I think the board is still up for those Saturdays and evenings,
Mhm.
whenever there's a request made, that we continue to open them for those.
and that was a question too, in signing those, would then we have all the liability. What if something from the hours we're open happens that is destructive in the restroom? Then when we signed that, it said that we're responsible for all that. So that was the part in the new terminology or the paper we received. We wanted you to look at that because that would be like, well, I mean, our downtown can't afford if somebody graffitis the whole restroom. I mean, that was something I'd want you to take a look at. Because we were hesitant to sign for each and every event when we have Kids Day on a Saturday and it would be open. And then, maybe somebody graffitis. I mean, we don't have the money to pay. Just to be honest with you,
Has it changed? Has our liability form changed, Mr. Schneider, over the last 5 years?
it's been the same, okay,
I think it's been that way for 10 years.
I have it right here.
Right.
yeah.
And the day that you asked for it, I think you said, hey, we'll have somebody go check it out. We'll walk through it once every hour or something.
Yeah.
For that event.
Okay.
Well, I may be making an assumption here, but I'm assuming would our insurance cover any damages?
I think that's where that.
Okay.
Use agreement's in place.
Yeah, I think I don't think anything's changed with our use.
Okay,
I would
so
honestly
that would be
think
our
that-
insurance, I guess.
that
Okay.
if we had, if you had it open for a Saturday for an event and something terrible happened in there, like somebody did something destructive, then, I think we would probably be on the hook for it, but then we'd probably say no more events. I mean, that's how that would work.
Well, you know, you read everything now and it was like, oh gosh, I mean, you have to be honest, we can't, if something happened, I don't have any extra money to afford, who's gonna pay for it, so,
Right.
you know, sure we work together. And again, those are very unusual things to happen now, you know, with graffiti and other things too, so.
But I mean, again, I want there to be a solution that we can all live with. Yeah, maybe we'll,
But do talk to the mayor, please
Sure.
do, because that was, part that he was going to present. And, unfortunately, that's, life happens and he's not here today. But we didn't want to prolong because it's such an important, part to us, our solution. So,
is there anybody else that wanted to make a comment?
I just have a question. In the meantime, for these things that are considered like special events or whatever,
Yes.
can we just make one blanket request for those till the end of the year? Or do we have to come in for each separate one of those to ask approval?
Are they all downtown emergent events?
Yes, our Heart of Jasper, which is kind of the
working
combined,
together.
working together,
I
yeah.
would say probably if you did one request for Heart of Jasper, one for the other one, and put all the different dates and requests, I think that would be satisfactory to me.
Okay.
Sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
And, anybody else have anything, Mr. Johnson? So, and again, do you think we're off base? I'd like to hear it now than later, I guess. Do you think there's no space for, I'm asking, I guess, other people, is there no space for a square little building to put? I guess I'm what I was telling them before the meeting, like when you pay, I don't pay my utilities here, I'm a rural person, but like there seems like there's space there where that island is, where a restroom could be put, or in one of the corners. Other downtowns that I've been into, it's in one of the corners, and that there's signage around the square saying this way. And do
Well,
you
with
think?
all privately owned buildings, it's tough.
Yeah, I wasn't in those meetings, but you know, when comes down to building something new or using something that's established and just working together, and I think that's where we came back to the drawing board of let's utilize the restrooms out of there. I did reach out to Astra. I used to work in human resources, and the security concern, yeah, I've let people go before. I mean, I was, you know, probably sitting in the judge's shoes too, just nervous about that. But, you know, having an entrance that allows people in, but then another locked doors for people to not be able to go through. And I would think that should be locked all day. I wouldn't open it up 8 to 4. I would leave those interior doors locked all day so no one can get through. So yes, if someone from the public's using the library and they come out to the bathroom, then sorry, you gotta walk back around to get back down to the library. But, I mean, there is the concern, someone can walk down and open the door, but you know, there's 15 entrances at the building I worked at. Anyone could have gotten to a plant there, but you take as many measures as you can, but things still happen. I know we don't want that here, but I wouldn't open them up 8 to 4. I would leave them locked all day long. And it's really just for the bathroom, and I know the maintenance office is down there, so that would be locked behind him for security reasons, I would imagine as well. But yeah, then the employees have big card access, and yes, training the employees that they cannot let someone tailgate them and get them in. If someone behind them says, oh, look, I'm just going to the library, they need to say, oh, no, I'm sorry, you know, all public needs to go up through the front. But that was a compromise to not have to spend money on a restroom. But like I said, I wasn't in those initial planning meetings, but if the bathrooms are there, people know where they're at, it's already handicap accessible, and there's an option to lock them so the public can't get in. Yeah, I would love to see that happen, but again, I understand the safety concerns from the judges and other people on the security team, because it can't happen where someone can open the door and let them in, but you know, someone can come up the front entrance and slide by a security guard too. No one's stopping there asking for names to be checked in, I don't believe, at the front door either. So anyone could come in those front doors and go down to use the bathroom, and now they're in the building too, because you're not checking in at the front desk and getting names and stopping them there, which, you know, we did have at the facility that I was at, everyone had to sign in and know who was coming in the door, and if they didn't have a meeting or an appointment or we didn't know them, you know, we had to leave. So, I mean, that could still happen today by not having someone checked in at the front.
Yeah, and I would echo that to, you know, anybody who wants to do something is gonna end up doing something or finding a way to do something as a previous employee of that building. I understand your safety concerns and they're well-founded for sure. But whether or not they're able to access the interior 15 feet of the building or any of the other steps or whatever it is, the face of the building, they're gonna do whatever they wanna do would be what I would say to that. The other point I would say is that any other additional building that we build down in this area is gonna affect parking, which is already a contentious issue for a lot of, the downtown businesses and who's utilizing those parking spaces. So it's just another consideration.
I think to answer Chad's question, maybe we could, through our own city engineer, look at some spaces that are in the downtown area, see if there's an appropriate place. If the courthouse doesn't work out, see if there's an appropriate place to put a brick little outhouse, really is what we're looking at. I don't know, we didn't look at that. I mean, we did, I think that one area you were talking about by the utility drive-through could have been considered. I don't know if that's the appropriate place, but again, I guess kind of back to the drawing board, if this doesn't pan out.
So I think it's either the judge or the sheriff is responsible for courthouse security, and both of them are, I mean, by statute, they're responsible for that anywhere where there's a courtroom. And I know they feel pretty strongly that having a single point of entrance and having metal detectors and somebody, I don't know that we'll take people's names, but where you're going to get a pretty solid looking over, I think is the next step. One, first part was to get a single point of entrance. The next one was to make sure everybody going in that single point is really looked at. So from my standpoint as a commissioner who's in charge of that building, one of my fears is, well, I've had law enforcement and a judge tell me that this is what they want, that this is the best practice. I've had somebody from the state come down and say that this is the best practice. That if I say, no, because do I think that something will happen? I don't think anything will happen. I'm an optimist that people aren't going to come in and shoot one of our judges or another defendant or anybody. I think things are going to be completely fine, but if I'm wrong, that's a big mistake to make, and we look pretty foolish. And why did we not take every single measure to protect a judge or a defendant or county employees? So I'm kind of torn on this because part of me thinks leave the restroom open 24 hours a day. People in DuBois County are good people, and the occasional person that tears it up, well, we'll just repaint the wall. So I guess I'm just a little conflicted over this whole thing. But what I told myself is I have to put the safety and security from people that are professionals at that first. That's where I'm at. But I will look at the Astro thing, and I'll talk to former Commissioner Brahmas about if we made some kind of a promise. Well, that maybe means something different. I'm kind of rambling on, but I'll give it more thought. I'll give you that.
Appreciate it. And then in the meantime, we can submit these dates and these hours for the restroom to be open, more or less out of regular business time.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to do that at our next commissioners meeting, which will be 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
If you want to have them in by then, we can consider them.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
So I think too, that I'll probably ask Judge Burkham to watch the meeting, see if he has any thoughts on what we just discussed. Again, I'm an optimist. I don't think anybody's gonna put a bomb on our building. I don't think anybody's gonna go shoot the building up, but I bet all of those other locations too probably thought the same thing. So,
After shot training, they always tell us it's not if, it's when. So prepare for when.
Ed Cole, you boys strong, sir. How are you?
Good. You guys need to go to the restroom before we take. Just thought I'd throw that in. Sorry, bad joke. Bad joke on a Monday.
Hey, thank you for your time this morning. I'll I think you're kind of aware of why I'm here, but I want to make sure that we keep in contact with the people who support us. So, with me, you always get paper. And this time I remember.
I always get forgotten.
These can be passed down. Yeah, we'll
I
just,
don't think
I'll just
so.
grab
I
it.
think we're good.
If
We've
there's any
already
extras,
covered this,
Yeah.
so I know you have things to do.
Good.
So,
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Thank you
See
guys
you
Can you
for us.
turn that so I
okay?
can see it then?
What about the plat?
Stuart, will you turn the computer so she can see this while I'm recording?
I'm fine with it.
Just
It's
so I can see the face,
It's on,
and that way I'll know if it quit.
It's out.
that's why Kenny Grocery's place out there, his cabin.
Stuff.
And they sent us the picture already, so, yeah, it was-
It makes sense. It's not something we want to do every day, but for this case, it does make sense.
got it. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Brent.
See you guys.
Got a lot going on this morning, I don't know what to do.
We do.
Hey, I'll just keep this brief. I think you guys know I come at least once a year to just kind of say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, this is how we're spending the money, that type of thing, just so we keep in contact, as I said, for the folks that support us. Want to just say, obviously, good morning to you all. Our whole strategic focus at Du Bois Strong is really on how do we attract people to live here, work here, and invest here, and then hopefully play here as well. I'd like to just take a few minutes to talk about, I always look at this as kind of the last half of last year and the first half of this year to kind of give you a little bit of perspective on where I'm going. Just want to talk about just a few of our initiatives and some of our recent successful projects. Over the last year, we worked with a 30-member Du Bois County Child Care Task Force, which has been kind of an enormous education for me, and a 7-county regional group that put together a white paper on essentially the accessibility and affordability of childcare in the 7-county area. And then we broke it down to each of the 7 counties as well. Ultimately, what it comes down to is we need about 2,300 childcare seats, and that's the way they are considered. That's a name that I was unaware of. I thought, it'd just be openings or whatever, but they call them childcare seats. Well, with that, what we are looking at doing, and we've had probably, I think we have had 8 meetings from that 30-member group that's focusing on Du Bois County. And ultimately what it came down to, and I know you guys deal with this all the time, a lot of the answers for things are money. Now, it's not the only answer, but it is part of the answer. So what we're thinking is, how do we stand up a 501c3? I'm not convinced that's the be all and end all, but what we believe is kind of a 3-pronged idea. How could we give for-profit companies low interest loans in order to be able to add onto their building, which is one of the issues that's out there. And the not-for-profits, could we set up, and it's going to take a long time, I don't want to pretend this is a magic bullet, but could we give not-for-profits grants? And then also, how can we work, and this is a big leap, how can we work with the in-home providers? That one is probably in the same vein. Would we be able to support them? How can we support them? There's a lot of questions to be answered, but we feel like we're working on it. The 501c3 obviously allow us to do fundraising. The reason, and I know lots of people do fundraising, but the reason why we want to separate it from Du Bois Strong is we also do fundraising for our existence, frankly. Half of our money comes from public, half comes from private, which I know you're aware of. So we think if we go out and say, hey, we're raising money, and they go, well, you already did that, didn't you? And then we're confusing the issue on what we're trying to raise the money for. So we're trying to separate those two the best we can. And that's the sad part about it is setting up a 501c3, both good and bad. The good thing is the IRS is pretty suspect of people who want to set up a 501c3. That's a good thing. The bad thing is it makes it very difficult, and it's essentially a 6-month process. Where I'm running into problems is I've got to get a core group of at least 3 people that say, I am willing to be the founding fathers or people for this foundation, or excuse me, for this 501c3. So I've had a little trouble with that. I've had a lot of people say, gee, I'm glad to be on the board. And oh, that's nice, but I really need you to be part of the leadership in the beginning. So I'm still working on that, but I think I'm getting closer on a couple of folks. So unfortunately, as I said, there will be that 6-month time lag, but we think that that's really where we can work on a strategic plan on where to go and how we want to get there. So that lag really probably isn't all bad. What the lag will do is it gives us that time. The bad thing, obviously, you can't really be raising money during that time because people expect to be able to take this off their taxes. So it's probably more than you ever want to know about that. It's a very deep subject. And we feel like if we're not making some sort of effort in that way, we're not helping. A lot of people say, well, why in the world would you get involved in childcare? It's workforce. I already answered my own. Because we feel like if we're not working in the workforce area, then there's something wrong with us. Because we know the traditional view of economic development is go out and find company X, bring them to Du Bois County, and everybody's excited because we brought in jobs. Well, we don't need the jobs. We've got more jobs than people if we need to bring in people to fill the jobs we have. So if childcare is a big issue, if we can work on that and people can say, folks in Du Bois County, they're working on childcare, that's a good thing. And then there's obviously housing, and I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. And those are probably A and B, housing, schools being the other one, which we don't have much control over. But anyway, that's where we are in childcare. The relocation incentive program, and I think I gave you a spreadsheet there that talks about that. We attracted 24 individuals, 65 new residents. The good thing, and the thing I'm really proud of, is we did not use any tax dollars, any local tax dollars to do this. We worked with Radius Indiana, we worked with the Community Foundation, and they were very generous with us with $22,000 early on. And then we had a weird kind of one of those what moments where way back during the pandemic, we applied for, it was an employee retention grant from the government. And essentially what they did is they took your federal withholdings and sent it back to you if you maintained your employment level. Well, 99% of the time, or 90% of the time, it's me and Brenda, so that wasn't real hard. So we were able to get nearly $32,000. So we took that $32,000, a gift from the manna from the federal government, and used it for this. So it was one of those weird moments in time where we're getting what? But anyway, it worked out well. So that's when I say local tax dollars. Ultimately, we all paid for this from the federal government, but so I don't want to blow by that. We're working again with Make My Move and Radius. Make My Move is the group that has worked with Radius all along to bring in the remote workers. We're working with them again, and also this time we're not using any tax dollars. One of the keys to this thing is it's employer focused. The employer would pay $1,500, Radius pays $3,500. They still would have a 2-year requirement. They would still work with that company for that 2-year period. But one of the keys to this is them making $50,000 a year, which may or may not fit, but we've tried to make sure we're in contact with the local HR people to be able to move this thing forward. For the 6th time in October, we're going to partner with the schools, all 4 county school corporations, on NVUJ and Patoka Valley CTE on Tour of Opportunity. And it is a logistics challenge, but getting those freshmen out to 2 locations in the morning to see what actual people in the job that they may be interested or their career pathway has been very valuable. It's a lot of kids moving a lot of places, but I'll tell you, we've had excellent response from the employers, the businesses in the area. Been fantastic. November, our 8th annual Southwest Indiana Ag Summit, because we all know ag is very important to us here in this county. Housing, I did talk about that a few moments ago. We are redoing our housing study that we did way back in 2015. We're working with a company out of Nebraska. It's kind of it's a good thing because we're partnering with ROI. They're doing an 11 county housing study. We just want to focus on ours, obviously, but because we're part of ROI, we're able to get, I don't want to make it sound like it's dirt cheap, we're able to get a little bit cheaper version of a study from them, since much of the information they're going to use for all 11 counties, they had to dig down. And we asked them to dig down a little further here to do more of a deep dive. So hopefully by the end of this month, we will have that completed. We want to get it out, obviously, to the realtors. We want to get it out to the people, the builders. We want them to have is what we feel would be the most accurate information.
So what's the hope on that? What do we hope, if they tell us we need apartments that are $700 a month or houses that are a certain thing, what does DuBois Strong do with that information?
We try to get it in the hands of people who will build those, is the idea.
But why wouldn't they do that on their own, for their own self-interest?
Sure, good question. We think we can do it better. And it's a community service. So I mean, if somebody goes to Ferdinand, if somebody goes to Huntingburg, any of the towns, we can say, hey, this is the information that you could provide them. We see it as a blanket way of saying we have this need. It's a lot like the childcare seats. When we have this need, we're shining the light on the need. How do we get other people to come in and handle that, fill that void? We want to be seen as facilitators, not necessarily want to build houses.
Right. I didn't think you built houses.
Yeah. Not in my spare time. No one would want to live in the house I built, I can tell you that. Enterprise Loan Fund is a big thing for us. We really don't do a lot of loans, but one of the connections for us, and Nancy was in here earlier, the Small Business Administration is a big player in what we do. We push our people to come to us for a loan, to go to the Small Business Development Center, talk to them, especially when it comes to a business plan. Lots of folks, and we've got, and I know you probably talk to people too, we've got everything from a person who's done a very detailed business plan to the back of the napkin. And we also, okay, wait a minute, you gotta go beyond the napkin if you're gonna work with us. The good thing is, we've gotten all 13 of our emergency loans. We did 12 $5,000 emergency loans back in 2020. And 12 or 5,000, one was 3,000. So doing the math, $63,000 went out to small business people to try to keep them afloat. Everyone has paid us back, everyone. So we've been very, very pleased with that. 2 loans this year so far, one for $40,000, one for $7,000. The good thing is we have a committee of bankers who are very, very good to work with. So it kind of keeps us focused, helps us make this work. We've only had one bad loan. We used to be able to say we didn't have any bad loans. The one bad loan was stiffed us for $600, and we're pretty pleased that it was only $600 because that was a tough one. 2 solar energy companies, I know you have all had some conversations with them throughout the last 2 or 3 years at least. They're still focused on the 2 areas that the Duff area is one, and the other one is airport, and then go west of the airport. Still in that area, so they're both in various stages of either getting the leasing or getting the approval from the regional electrical gods at MISO in Carmel. 2 things I want to talk about real quickly that are very gratifying to me and they were with the Gros Du Bois County dollars. We had a Patoka Lake water project, and what we were trying to do was figure out the increasing capacity to the Ferdinand industrial area and to the airport industrial area. These are really important because we keep seeing over and over and over the water usage on some of the projects that we get from the state. Those are the projects that they send us a description that says, hey, we've got a company that's looking for, 100 acres, and they want to be near 4-lane highway. They're going to use this X number of amount of water, this much electrical, this much gas, and they're going to build, an electric vehicle battery plant. And they are going to employ 500 people. Well, we don't respond to those because we don't have 500 people. But the ones that are more in the 50 to 100 range, those are the ones we look at. And those are the ones we try to respond to. So without that information as far as the amount of water that these two locations could produce, we were really flying blind. So we got an engineering study that I think helped the town of Ferdinand tremendously. St. Henry was involved, Patoka Lake, the water company, and ourselves. We all split the cost, and I was very proud that we'd all be able to put money to it. We all got good information out of it. Some people say, well, why in the world do you want to spend all the money on that? Well, it was a what-if scenario, but it was an important what-if scenario because many times we saw in these projects that I just described, they'll want 500,000 gallons of water a day. Get 500,000 gallons of water. Well, then you start realizing that 500,000, and some of them even ask for 1 million gallons of water a day, which is just an astronomical sum when you're looking at these locations. So we decided we had to get a better understanding of what is realistic. And I think it really was a good project. Last one is the airport parcelization plan. Now the airport had some industrial property surrounding it, or I guess mostly on the south side of the airport for a number of years. And we talked several times about what could happen there, what should happen there. Well, if you don't have an overlay, an engineering overlay, you really don't know what you're looking at as far as the amount of water lines, the amount of sewer lines, the internal roads. Those types of things are very important. If you're ever going to develop a property, I always kind of hate that term, but if you're ever going to make it more of an industrial property, you really have to have in mind a roadmap. Where would this best fit? So we did get that engineering overlay, and that was one of the things that was paid for by Du Bois County. So anyway, wrapping up, just want to say, we're really pleased to work with you. We're very proud of the work. We have a lot of partners. We couldn't do what we do. You're obviously one of our partners. ROI, Southwest Indiana Development Council, on that, the Radius, ROI. I guess I did mention ROI, Southern Indiana Gateway Talent Region. That's that 7-member group that's looking at childcare. OCRA, the Workforce Board. We deal with all those folks. Just want to mention on the handouts, what we do is we just kind of take our budget, squash it, and give you the highlight rather than the minutia. So that is in one of the handouts there. That's all I have. Thank you. Unless you have any questions. Oh, and I have to thank Chad for being on our executive committee and listening to me talk probably more than he ever thought he would want to. So thank you. And then he gets a double dose today.
And I listened to it last Monday.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I might get it yet.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Seriously, we appreciate your partnership. You guys are great to work with. And I would say that even if I wasn't standing. So,
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wilson, we've run a little behind, but you're up next, sir.
I'll be fast today.
Good.
I'm just here to ask for Commissioner's approval on 2 hires. The first being Sean Sabori, who had previously been with us for a little over 10 years. He left last year, pursued a position in private industry, and we entered into some discussion about 2 months ago about him returning, and we've kind of worked through some challenges, and he has accepted a conditional offer. Marky has worked with him through, he's ready to start work with your blessing on August 14th to be his first day. We did negotiate with the incremental pay increases with him as soon as he receives current certifications on some of the protocols. We're going to pay him at the top rate because we will get top rate work out of him. I think it's a win-win for us, and it did help us lure him back maybe a little more successfully. I don't know, it's a small, I expect it's going to take somewhere around 3 weeks to getting back to full speed. He will have to recertify several protocols, and he'll have to get new approval from the state to be operating on our data systems, but I do not foresee any roadblocks. And I'm glad to have him back. Sean is an extremely strong employee previously. He was one of our trainers, just a really strong employee. And he will be, especially considering our staffing situation that we're in now, that's going to be a very welcome relief.
It's exciting. I'm happy to have him back. Who's number 2?
So number 2 is a candidate that we interviewed about 2 weeks ago. His name is Matthew Kempker. He's a young man from Jasper that is going to be new to public safety. He's totally green. He seems very excited for a lot of the prospects of being a county employee. And he interviewed well. He's well-spoken. He was the only candidate of about 45 applicants that we were prepared to interview then. And he shined through. He's a good candidate. We'll see how he does when we get him in the door. And we're looking to get him started on August 28th. There has been a conditional offer of employment made to him pending your approval. He is already through the drug screening process, so he's ready to go other than commissioner's approval. Both of them are ready to go other than commissioner's approval. That's all I got.
He's another one that I sat in interviews and talked to him. Good person. Hopefully he'll be a long-term employee.
Yeah, we're still too short. Working on some other candidates. We had 2 informal visits last week. We hope to conduct interviews the last week of August, tentatively. But I don't have one candidate to interview as of today, so I'm going to try to not waste our interview panel time and try to get 2 or 3 persons per interview round. We keep having people withdraw. I don't know. It's not a very rosy outlook, but 2 to the good on these, so I will take that and we'll try to stay positive.
Let's do these one at a time, and we'll start with number 1, Sean Savori. I make the motion that we approve the hire of Mr. Savori.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 2, Mr. Kemper. I'll move that we, staying with Mr. Savori, pending any administrative processing we need to do, I'll move that we approve hiring Mr. Kemper.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
All I got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Anybody need a break?
Well,
Camp Kerr with a K, I think, right?
KDMKER.
So how do you spell Sean's last name?
Sivori, I believe.
That's fine. So it's gonna say freeze.
Sivori. All right, this is the next one is more pleasant than some of the things we get to deal with here. There's a scholarship award that we're going to be recognizing today. Want to come on up? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you all for your time this morning, allowing us to be here. I'm Dustin Renner with the Association of Indiana Counties. I have with me Zach Hughes. He's from SRI. He's a partner with us. We present these scholarship checks each year. We partner with SRI, as I mentioned, to present a handful of scholarship checks to college students that have ties to the county government. And this year, one of our recipients is Riley Fisher. She's heading to Purdue to study nursing, so congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Zach, do you want to add anything?
Sure, yeah, congratulations. Like I said, I'm Zach from SRI. We helped Sandy and we've helped Chad when he was treasurer with the tax sale. We've been doing this partnership with AIC for longer than I've been at SRI, so I'm not exactly sure how long it was. I asked David last time I saw him, he couldn't remember either. So it's been a while. We're happy to contribute. We've been working with counties for 30 years, and we're just happy to give back in any way that we can. So congratulations and good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you so much for awarding me with this. I'm very excited to head to Purdue next week, actually, 1 week from today. I'll head over there. Like you said, I'm studying nursing. I haven't decided what exactly field of nursing I want to go in, but I plan to travel one day and then eventually come back here to Du Bois County. So I'm very excited.
Awesome. And
I'm not here about you.
We'd love to take a picture with everybody, if that'd be okay?
Yeah.
And to say congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're a freshman, you said?
Yeah.
So your first time up, so that's great.
I don't know if you.
I have a niece up there.
It's my first leaving the house, so that's.
You wanna get in with your daughter, and I'll.
No, I got eyes on my face, I can. I'm good. Mom's having it, you can sit over here. 1, 2.
Look at me.
Oh, Norm, sorry. Mr. Broke the phone already.
Well, yeah, I had it and I went to sleep. Okay, ready? There you go.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Can you stop over and see the girls? Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Oh, you're sitting cold? Yeah, I feel just about right today. I haven't been hot or sweat. Hey, I think now that we're back ahead of schedule, I'd like to use the restroom.
Yeah.
Time to the board. Yeah.
It's not here.
We'll let you.
Oh, I'm just gonna walk around.
Cause you can.
Yep.
Questions?
Scholarship was that?
I don't know. I have no idea. So I sent you the email, got it, I didn't remember. We're entering an agreement with Vanderbilt County for that 3-3 program, and they're writing a contract or they want a signature page from our commissioners to add to theirs. Can you email it to me whenever you get a chance? Just with 3 commissioners' signature page and in with like their ordinances and stuff.
Oh, Greg always says that, I don't have it,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I can.
Just forward it to him or, yeah. Their attorneys finalizing the like MOU type contract and they just want to put their signature page on a signature page.
Just make sure he reviews it.
Yeah, well, I'm a forward to them, yeah.
He always does that.
Okay. Got it.
Where are you guys at on ordinance?
On what?
And I haven't got a signed copy of the Wiggly's yet either.
I don't think I've got back to me yet.
Um,
It's still on my desk.
Bring it every time.
Oh, the septic ordinance. They won't even take them until, September, October. So we have,
To the meetings.
this is the one that kids kind of partake, we take.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't approve it. See, he's a minute steps. That's what I'm trying to tell him. Did you get new chairs?
Yeah.
Nice. How much were those? Like
Like those for.
$300-$400 a piece?
I didn't read it.
Really? Yeah, I ordered.
Because we did the better
Yeah.
material, so they lasted 30 years, and like the last.
We went with that mesh ones for our trainer, those are a little too big for what we need.
But that's right, those are the next step down.
Oh, okay.
See what happens to the high back there, those are the lower.
March for like a mesh back, kind of match the ones we have in our department, so we can keep them wherever. That's not cheap anymore.
Everything's double.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
These were from OFS.
Oh, they were.
They weren't the same as what they got out of the jelly. I think that's the reason they were OFS. But she knows how to do that. She used to go do that at Campbell.
Got it.
She knew how to order them.
Forgot the phone. It's my fault.
I don't know if he's gonna come
Oh, thank you.
She's okay if we put that on the website, correct?
on Facebook.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll do that later.
Oh, he's gonna show up or not.
It's not quite time yet. You got 15 seconds.
What's the estimated time this construction is gonna be done? Do they know?
I don't know. We used to get updates, but Darla left and we haven't gotten an update. Like,
No, she's gone completely now?
Yeah.
like, she resigned and that's what Josh just took her place.
Well, I knew, but I didn't know when it was gonna take place, so
No,
it's
she's
already
been gone
done.
for a while. We used to get, like, she'd send us updates
They should give 2 week notice.
and then we haven't gotten one recently, so I don't even really know.
No, I had no idea she was gone. I mean, we deal with Steve Dills and he's retiring in January, right?
That's who I dealt with to get the permit for that building up, but
Right.
tomorrow,
So is someone going in Steve's place?
no, Steve's still there.
I know, but he's,
Oh, I have no idea. That's the city.
because we apply for a lot of permits and stuff, so hope to find that out soon.
No, they can't get this done soon enough because I'm tired.
Yeah.
They're doing my street at home too. Which will be nice when it's finished, but.
You feel that? You
Yes,
said something.
They're breaking up the street and taking it out. Yeah, we feel it all the time, for the last year. The whole courthouse shakes. Hi, are you Mr. Lamont?
Yep.
Can you sign in right there, please? And they'll be right back, they're taking a break.
Oh, I almost was in the right spot.
Yes, you are in the right spot.
Sorry, I heard that. That's in process.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
All right, we'll get back to order again. Next thing on our agenda is a holding tank, Anthony Lamond. So, you're Mr. Lamond?
Yes, sir.
And was it your request to come before the board today?
Yes,
Make a request? Okay, so you're welcome to come up and state your business.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, so please tell us what the request is.
My question is, on a holding tank, so I get my city water turned on. I've been going to town back and forth to town getting water, and it's getting to the back pocket pretty quick.
And it's getting what?
Into my back pocket,
Mm.
that's where the gas price and all that stuff is. I mean, and I got animals, I gotta keep watering and stuff.
Is this, yeah, what's your address?
It's at 6360 West, 350 South, Honeyburg, Indiana.
So 5360 west.
360 West, 350 South.
So whose name is it owned under?
It's under my dad's. Well, my dad before he passed away.
And what's his name?
Robert Lamont.
Robert? So it's West 350 South,
Yeah.
just to verify again on that. And it says that the owner's address is at Logtown Road, is that your?
Yeah, that's the old address.
That's where you get your mail?
Yeah.
So you may want to update that to, you have some work for your mail.
My mail was the 6360 West. The long time ago is where we moved at. And I bought the, so we lived there and my dad passed away and I bought the place there. In Honeyburg.
Okay, so, excuse me. Mr. Warner, could, excuse me, I had something in my throat. Could you please tell me, what was the situation? We had Mr. Lamont in here a while back. What was the situation with the property at that time?
So at that time, the health department received a complaint of improper sewage disposal at the property. We made an inspection. It does not have a permitted system. I believe he appeared here at a meeting and was told to basically abate the use of running water so no more sewage disposal was deposited on the surface. At that time, I think Duff Water voluntarily shut off his water meter because he didn't have proper means of sewage disposal. And that's where it's been left ever since. Anthony has been in contact with me a couple times, the health department, trying to resolve the issue. And I think about every time I told him that he needs to follow, the proper steps in order to obtain a septic system there. And if it's not approved for a legal septic system, then we could consider a holding tank permit. And I believe Mr. Lamont's coming here today because of Senate Bill 414, which now allows holding tanks. But it's still the county's stance that holding tanks are the last resort effort for sewage disposal. So that is, I'm sure, your guys' decision on what we want to do as far as going from here. But the health department still stance is it's going to be, a last ditch effort. We're not going to approve a holding tank for new construction, nor just because we want one, because it's far more expensive to live off the holding tank than it is to put a septic system in or hook up a sanitary sewer.
Okay. So what is your current means of getting waste off of your property?
I thought seriously, because I got a family that's in the pumping system business. I get it pumped out for between $200 to $300 a month, which is not bad.
Mm-hmm. So would it not be cheaper in the long run for you to have a system and then
Well,
pay nothing?
I called around for an actual sewer system. They said the main problem that they're gonna have will be the runoff.
Be what, the runoff?
Yeah, the runoff, the big issue.
Because your lot's small?
Yeah, it's running like a 90 by 90.
So today, you're living on this property?
Yeah, there's no water.
Do you live on an RV or?
A camper.
A camper? So where does your waste go now?
It's going into the holding tank. When it gets full, I take it to a dump station.
So you have a tank, a small tank within the RV that
Yeah.
you're using? Okay. So let's have a discussion about it. We have a request to allow Mr. Lamont to use a holding tank on his property on 350 South, Honeyburg Drive. It's in Duff. So my stance would be that he should follow the steps to get an approved sewage disposal system that basically, the way I read the law is that you have to get a permit from the local health department of the county to get I guess really to get either system, right? To get a holding tank or to get a standard septic system. So Mr. Lamont is trying to go through that process, because without having that, he won't be able to get running water to his property. So currently, it sounds like he's running to get water somewhere else. It also, the law as I see it also says that the local health department of a county may establish requirements concerning the issuance term and renewal of permits under the law. So really, the county has some say in whether this is done or not. So I guess my understanding is we should, or what I would like to see happen is we have Mr. Lamont go through the process, have someone come out to look at his property to say, and get something in writing that either the property is appropriate for our septic system, and if it's not, then we could take the next step to determine if a holding tank is appropriate. I think that's where I would like to be with, and I think that's the position of the health department. Am I correct?
Yes.
You want him to go through because ideally
we don't want to treat him any different than any other homeowner, because if he comes in, we just grant him a holding tank permit without proving that he does not have any other option, then we might have every right one to do this. And I don't want that to happen. It's our policy in the past and will continue to be, you have to prove that there's no other means of sewage disposal and that the holding tank is your last resort effort. Because, I mean, there are stipulations in there, I don't know if he understands, that you have to have a signed contract with a legal pumper, you have to have a high water alarm at 2/3 the capacity of the tank. So you're gonna have audio visual alarm, separate circuit on the new holding tank, and you're gonna have to submit records to us every single time it's pumped out, and pumping it out once a month is more than likely not gonna be enough. I mean, if you use 1,000 gallons of water in a 1,000-gallon tank, you're gonna have to pump it out. On an average home, you're using 2,000 to 3,000 gallons of water a month. That would be pumping that thing out 3 times a month, 4 times a month. That's $1,200. You can pay a 1-bedroom septic system off probably in a couple of months. That's why holding tanks are not a long-term solution, and they have never been until this new rule passed. I don't know the reason behind it. I don't like it because holding tanks are just for that reason. They're not suitable for long-term use.
in his situation, is it likely that it would even be approved for a septic tank? So not a septic tank, a septic system, I mean, because of how small it is?
There's for sure room on the property with either a Presby or 2 runs of chambers, as long as the soil is suitable and he has a water table drain outlet. That might be a concern, but if we don't,
That's the biggest part of that is the runoff.
for the water table drain, there's no easement that you can obtain or any way to get to an outlet.
No.
So that
I called the people the numbers that you gave me. They said they looked up on the internet map, what they call it. They said that since being only like a 90 by 90, they don't think they were certain on the runoff. Is the biggest concern.
So until you have a soil evaluation there, I can't tell you what we would recommend, because if there's no water table there, you don't need a water table drain. But I don't know what's there until you do it to a test. If you put in 2 64-foot runs 7 foot apart, that's 64 by 7.5. You're done. You've got plenty of room to do that as long as the soil is suitable. But until you prove to us that that's not an option, we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because our policy is we don't approve holding tanks until you prove to us there's no other option. I mean, there is options. You could, if you have to, pump a water table drain to an outlet, which is still going to be cheaper in the long run than you trying to pump a holding tank. Because it can't be your family or friends that are pumping this thing out. It's going to have to be a licensed pumper, and I don't know if your family is licensed with IM. Because you can't just bring a honey wagon in there and pump it out and go spread it on the field or take it somewhere. That's not allowed. So it has to be a license, or in a you have to agree and sign a contract before we'll give you a permit. You have to have a high water alarm or audiovisual alarm. All those things, they're gonna add up, and then plus, every time you pump it out, it's $200 or $300. In a year, you can have a septic system paid off. Is the concern why we don't suggest holding tanks?
So Mr. Warner, I know this is a work in progress probably, that we're still kind of dealing with this new law. Would you say that if we look for steps that a person has to take, is the soil test the number one thing that we would need?
Soil test is absolutely first. We can't tell you anything to do that.
And with a holding tank, do people bury those, or is it above ground?
It can be either way. Typically, we bury them, so we don't have to worry about freeze. But there are certain ones that, like Beaver Lake, Iowa Lake, that there's no other means of sewage disposal because they're on a drinking water supply and can't get within 200 feet of the lake. So those are the only things we'll approve out there. Some of those are elevated, but they typically have to get those pumped out when winter comes. Otherwise, if it freezes, the tank will crack. But it's far better to put it underground.
Okay. So that's where I would stand. If that's going to be the process, if we're going to, there's some parts of the county that we already know are not going to be suitable for a septic system. So some of those, we already know if they're a flood zone, for example. Yeah, but for this place, and I think our policy should be to treat this, Mr. Lamont, as similar to anyone else, and have a soil test first to find out the suitability for a septic system. If that fails, then we can look at the request for. That's where I would stand.
I totally agree. Just following the process.
Take the steps and see where we go from there.
That being said, your request for a septic tank or a holding tank is denied at this time, and your next step would be a soil test.
And those soil scientists are on our website if you need them, or I can give you the numbers to get those done. But if you have access to the internet, it's at DuBoisCountyIN.org. Go to health department, septic page, and the list of certified soil scientists are on that link. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. 10 o'clock, VSO Facebook page. We have 15 minutes for this. I don't think we're going to need it. Susan was asking if they could have one. I said that the process is that the department that wants one makes a request to the commissioners. I said I could make the request for her. The other agreement per our policy has been that the commissioners basically own the sites as well. So if we ever had a need to shut them down, we could. They give us a password and basically access under that 1 in a million chance that they start posting something, or a future employee would post something that's inappropriate or we don't like, maybe we could basically as a commission. The board of commissioners has control over the site. Same way with prosecutor's office, health department, any of the others. So
How many administrators will it be? Just Susan? The administrators to the Facebook?
probably is out.
Okay.
That's what I've done with the other sites, and then whenever I'm no longer commissioner, I put those over to someone else. Again, I don't think that it's
I have no problem with it.
I think it's a part of just doing business anymore.
It's good service in county.
Okay, so I'll move that we approve the VSO having a Facebook page.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're ready to have one of those, you're probably good.
Well, we're ahead of schedule again. We're going on 10:15 for Mr. Taylor for highway, or driveway variance. Mr. Schneider, do you have anything to fill in any time here?
I don't have anything to fill in the time, no. I do not.
Auditor?
The only thing Scott told me this morning was about the chairs. You said surplus chairs from downstairs. We declared some of them are surplus. Then these new ones came up, some of those all went downstairs. The brown ones that were here went downstairs. So now he's got a room full of ones that were in that room that were broken, outdated, obsolete.
So those were,
I don't have a complete listing, but
they were on their last leg, that's why they got put over here. Start with, John.
they were declared somewhere else and brought over here, and now final approval.
Where are they? Are they-
They're in Ryland's old office, stacked up to the.
And he, I don't know the condition of them, do you think there's any of them there of any value to send out to other people to look at, or do you think
I
they're?
think people have already looked at them and nobody's taken them the first time.
Okay, I'm fine with it, declare those surplus, and what would we have Mr. Hope do with them? The trash, or they try to find somewhere else for them?
I see it restore or something, some Paul wants some, I'm not.
And then he said there's also 3 file cabinets downstairs by the elevator. I've seen them all over.
I think we'll keep the file cabinets around, but let's go with the chairs. I'll move that we declare those surplus and have those disposed upon by Mr. Hope.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. And yeah, if he takes those out, he put the file cabinets in that office for now. Because the file cabinets is odd. It seems like we get rid of a lot, and then I see that people have bought some. So I don't want to, don't want to throw those away.
I sent the one out last night about the wooden one she's got back here, so I haven't heard anything yet. I just got it out yesterday.
And if that wooden one is in decent shape, we would probably replace this one. The drawers are all falling out of this thing.
So we're gonna declare one or the other surplus.
We'll wait on that one to see if anybody takes it. And also, I think next time we have we'll have an updated list from one of the corrections on some of the items.
Let me know when you get that sample.
Okay.
Chad, want to see that?
Yeah, I'll see what it is.
Letter I got from the other day.
Okay.
That'll probably be the next couple of weeks.
Meeting with Mary Foster.
All right. Do you need me to ask you?
I don't think so. I shot 4.
If I can remember to make that one, I don't know what the other thing you were talking about last week.
I should be able to be there tomorrow.
Mary?
I told her I wouldn't be because we're replacing the servers tomorrow, the core switch tomorrow evening after hours. And I thought we were gonna do prep work, but they don't need me, so I probably will plug into the regional switch.
Yeah, just that was the change order, really, yeah.
Last time we had a whole bunch left over.
I'm not too concerned about it.
Yeah, she does that because some of those are gonna take long time because we can't meet.
And as far as the regional sewer record, I won't be going, or try not to go anymore. I got involved in it, but just like you.
Yeah, she was all concerned, she thought that, and I was like, no, I think you just decided that you didn't need to be there.
Right, if you're gonna be there, I don't need to be there. And
And I'll let you guys, if I can't make one, I'll let you guys know so that possibly somebody else
So
will
it's
be there.
in the boardroom downstairs at my coffee with you, Mary, and
I try to go, Mike.
I'm not sure if Jasper there is, Mike will likely be there.
say, my opinion is not good can you see anything highlighted? This for the last time I did it. Highlighted.
But yeah, she was doing it up, I think, my bus is not bringing it, I can't get there.
No, they're not.
They're not, okay.
If I can be there, one, actually, we just check my outlook.
Go ahead and grab these.
depends on me and then if I don't put it on my work schedule, then if something else gets plugged in, I can change it.
I'll plan on if that's okay.
So you're gonna update, you're gonna update the process?
Yes, the ordinances still have to refer, so it's not, we'll probably help this, like I said, go.
I can do an update on trash court. We did collect from the one individual and the other one paid $300 instead of $100.
So they've got these new systems that we've been saying, and we've got these aeration systems in them, it's multiple apartments. And then from there, it goes like a UV treatment.
Oh, yeah, you can treat your own way.
And then it goes above that, it goes to the ground.
September, it hasn't changed. That hasn't changed at all.
Send somebody.
Okay.
And he's on our
Go on,
agenda.
Besides-
that was for
Yeah,
less than
September.
50.
Yeah.
So
The first quote was 60.
That's one of those where it's 37.
No, 70.
Well, and I looked at some dates, the day that we had.
He's on September 18th.
What is it?
September 18th.
Yeah, it's on September. And I looked at the dates and then it went back to 2021. That, this just keeps going on and on and on. And then you originally you had said, we had said 90 days and then we, because it's not something that's just happened.
All right, so we got something in the mail here, let's see what this is. Backflow assembly test, so that's gonna be for Scott.
We got one of those in the mail too. I gave to you the other day.
Yeah, this one's for this building. Yeah. So I'm gonna make one quick call here about Mr. Madden, he gave us a list of items here, but I think these are all declared, he wants these all declared surplus, so. We'll check that out.
I have to watch it tomorrow, but I have to be at, so that may be slightly late to the meeting.
Hey, we have we're in our commissioners meeting right now, the list of items that you sent to me back on, last week sometime, is 100% of that stuff you're wanting, disposed of, correct? So, yeah, I think we sent it on August 1st, and it's 14 pages worth.
They got a lot of new stuff.
Well, I asked Sandy, because I couldn't, my vision isn't that great. She said, I guess we can't see what's highlighted, what is it?
Unless it's on different pages.
And it's easy to see. Okay, so if you could maybe,
Ask him which page it's on.
so, I think he said, like on page 1, you have things highlighted, correct? Everything under AT Fleming.
So different. I don't
You don't know what that means?
We don't.
Oh, I see Allison.
Location A.B. Fleming.
Okay, so everything that's under AT Fleming is what you wanted to declare?
still old school or something. Still old school, even though quick votes through the
Okay, so the ones that say Allison, the money that means these just other inventory. So in that case, then are you really only needing 7 items in the clerk circle? Sure, yeah, that way we can get it. Thank you, bud. All right, folks, let's get back into this. Ms. Wheeler? We have a plat driveway variance.
Yes, you. Phil Dealer with Russell Land Engineering, here on behalf of Dirkles Brothers LLC. So let you take that. map here for you. So what we have here is Daniel Dirkels is the managing partner, exactly his manager of Dirkels Brothers LLC, and it's his desire on this piece of property to construct a residence. He decided that he would like to do the platting process as opposed to a parcelization. So as part of the platting process, and this is just north of Duff, a couple miles north, just northwest of Duff. As part of the platting process, section 7 of the ordinance states that no real estate shall be subdivided for residential, commercial, or industrial use unless direct access exists to the land over improved county streets or roads, which is to say, when you enter into the platting process, it's desired that you drive directly off of the county road onto the property and not access it via an easement. In this case, where county road, where the curb is, his frontage is fairly steep from a topography standpoint. It's not real favorable for accessing it there. They have, so Dirkels Properties owns, or brothers own all that. What's highlighted there in green to the north is an existing drive in front of their existing machine shop that they have. And it is their desire to continue to use that. I know Brett went out and reviewed on site with Daniel and I believe was in favor of that. So that's what they're proposing to do, the one lot subdivision plat with the access via an easement to the north.
And the easement runs in perpetuity around the property.
So yes, they will, so we show a proposed easement on the plat, they will need to enter a separate easement agreement. The plat won't establish the easement, they'll have to enter into an easement agreement that will establish it yeah, that's right.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or concerns? As long as they have their, as I said, follow the plan in the future, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Okay, so I'll move that we approve the one lot subdivision plat driveway variance for the easement to the north.
And I did put a statement in the surveyor's notes that just basically memorializing this on the face of the plat that we did come to the meeting today and it was approved by the commissioners today. So correct. And Greg approved that statement this morning.
Okay. So, we'll make I guess I'll make my motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Where is this? You said north of, in Madison, is it in?
It's on 15 minutes.
Sorry.
Mine is, I guess,
That's right, we're 260.
Because I was thinking,
I'll tell you, the township.
Yeah, I think it's Madison.
I used to do that when I was in there, you over here.
That's Madison. 260 south, 715 west. I'll leave this for you if you'd like.
You got anything, Sam? We should get started.
So it's a one lot subdivision with a variance for driveway access?
Feels nice.
Wide driveway.
Driveway access to be opposed to directly to the public right of way.
So, we're gonna do it first.
You're president next year, we'll make sure they put you on first. Will you be president next year? I've been meaning to bring that up to you.
Nick?
You're doing such a fun job.
Yeah, you're doing a fine job there. All right. Okay. Carry on,
Is that obligated?
carry on.
Back in the day, they would do 2 years and switch.
Yeah.
Rotate it.
It's kind of a unspoken agreement.
Doing a great job, Chad.
And other, yes, please. In other words, Nick, you and I will have to talk privately again. Thank you, sir. So I'm gonna pass this over, Mr. Madden. Earlier today, I don't know if you were watching our meetings at all, but we did approve 40 hours of PTO time for you. So again, thank you for your extra work there. You wanna look through those to see if you're okay with declaring those items surplus? Thank you for running the list. I couldn't see that.
I think that's the surplus.
And a lot of those items are actually destroyed during demolition of the buildings.
The highlighted is the surplus, or all of this is surplus?
The highlight is what we'll have to make a decision on today to get rid of.
Okay, gotcha.
Did, were you able to get those other last items moved, or do you need some assistance, the ones in the parking lot?
Yeah, Trent took care of those.
Good.
The only thing sitting outside of those blue chairs still. I don't have a place to put them.
So you don't have a use for them, and there's nobody else, the sheriff doesn't need them for?
No, 4-H came out the other day and looked, and they just don't have any use for them.
Seems like there's a value to those things. What would you like to do with them? You don't care, just gotta have.
If you want to post them and give somebody an opportunity to come and get them, and
So what we have out there are, they have feet, they're probably steel, legs, and they have holes in them so they can drill them into the ground.
Yeah.
Just waiting, or basically waiting chairs. And how many are there? 15, 16,
3 sets of 4, and then 3 sets of 3.
So they're nice, they used to sit in the lobby and drill them into the ground. They're in good shape too.
Yeah.
So if we were to purchase them, it'd probably cost us $12,000 to sell them. We'd probably get $50 for them if we get anything.
Yeah. Are they on? Are they even on there?
I wouldn't think so.
I'm not sure that they're even on there.
So how about this? I don't think any offices in the courthouse or the county would need them, but take a picture of them, send them around like we do. If not, maybe you could try to send them to other community corrections offices, see if anybody has any need for them. If not, I guess we'll have to find a way to dispose of them.
Okay.
As far as that steel in the back,
Yeah, the excess lockers that are in the jail right now, I think there's 20 of them. Tom Blessner gave me a contact for Junket. They said they would bring a dumpster out there and load that up, and also those steel dividers as well.
Okay. I think that'd be a good thing to do. You can get them in there, they're heavy. And then whatever revenue comes from it, we put back into community corrections.
Okay.
We seeing anything on the form that you're not okay with disposing of, Commissioner?
That was fine with everything.
Fine.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll give this highlighted copy to the auditor's office, I guess. You need to make a copy of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Marky has a color copier back here, you can make a copy there. So I'll make a motion that we approve the disposal of all the items on this list that are highlighted from community corrections, so that they may remove them from their inventory.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So when you're done with those, if you'll give that to Mr. Madden, he can make a copy and then
There you go, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have, are you here for the kids that day?
She is the representative for EVPs from.
Oh, okay. Somebody's here for Kids Day courthouse use, so I thought maybe that was you. That's not you.
It's not me.
And it's not you, Mark, is it?
No.
Okay. I was just looking at the next thing on the agenda.
She's probably not here yet.
There's someone standing in the hallway on the phone, so maybe.
How about this? We will talk about EDP. And so you're here to listen for that in case we have any questions, or do you have anything you wanted
I'm here mostly just to listen and observe. I probably would not be the point of contact to answer any questions.
Okay, so you're with the attorneys for?
Yeah, I'm an attorney at Densing and Greenlawn. I was sent here on behalf of David McKinsey this morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are you here for Kids Day?
I am.
Let's do
Am I
Kids
late?
Day real quick.
Sorry.
You're early.
Okay.
But we're gonna run you through and then we'll.
Sounds good. I don't know if I filled that out properly. I apologize.
Okay, basically just asking if we can use the courthouse restrooms for Kids Day. It's our 29th annual event. It's held Saturday, September 23rd this year. We use the courthouse square from like 8 to 2 between setup and tear down, and for the event to happen within that time period. So just to have the bathrooms open for both the kids and their parents and people who come to shop from them as well.
Okay, anybody want to see the request? Okay. I'll move that we approve the Kids Day event on the square Saturday, September 23rd. And the permission to use the restrooms from approximately 8 o'clock in the morning to 2 in the afternoon.
Yep.
I'll move that we approve that request.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
It was on the request from the board, so.
So I think we're good, that's all
Okay,
good.
perfect.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
So just from up here, what the times were. Do I need to let Scott know?
I usually forward this.
Okay. All right, now we can talk about the EDP draft items that they sent to us last week and just get that.
So if I may,
Yes,
I've been in conversations with representatives from EDP, and because the county has the ordinance that we passed last year, kind of looking at what next steps would be. These documents were sent to me basically for initial discussion purposes. I thought it'd be best to share those with the board, just to see if you guys had any red flags or concerns that you wanted to be addressed before I went back to EDP or its attorneys and representatives to have those discussions, which is why I forwarded them on to you guys again, just to see if there's any general discussions or questions that you'd like for me to attempt to answer myself and or get answers for on your behalf.
Okay, so I did send the copy with the road use agreement to the highway department. I think if you had a discussion.
Mr. Windholt and I have had discussions on that before, and I think we do have some comments that we could share with EDP as needed. I just didn't know kind of what direction the county was wanting to go in.
Okay, so I guess we can just look through the documents. I don't know if either of you printed them out or not, but do you have a copy?
I do.
Okay, so on page 3 under.
Are we on the road use?
Yes.
Okay.
Under
So-
D.
And again, obviously the examples and exhibits and things of that were not attached, so there's more stuff that's out there, but go ahead, Mr. Blessing. You said
Okay,
what
so
page
here
you-
it talked about the written approval of the Board of Commissioners or the County Highway Superintendent. For that, I think I would prefer to leave it to the Board of Commissioners because,
And I'm sorry, can you tell me the page and section?
it's page 3.
Okay.
D.
All right, thank you.
So midway down the paragraph there, I just think that
Gotcha.
those should come before the board and we can give that approval to the highway superintendent at a later time if we choose to, but
Okay.
that'd be one section. Please, if anybody on the board disagrees, let me know. Page 4. Such amendments, about 5 lines down, such amendment shall be at the request of the developer and subject to the approval of the highway superintendent. And then it says, or the Board of Commissioners, I would put and Board of Commissioners, and then strike if indicated by the highway superintendent.
Okay.
this one, if you're ever talking with Mr. Winhall about this under D on page 4, section 2D, where they're talking about using track mounted equipment. I just want to make that a highlighted item because that causes substantial damage to roads. I don't know, I just wanted to make sure the highway department gave that extra attention.
Okay.
So on page 5, section 4, it talks about the county providing developer with reports from a third-party engineer certifying the condition of our bridges that they would possibly use. It says that those fees should be paid for by the developer. And I was just going to ask the highway department.
I have a note for that too.
If they were here, who would do that work, and
Or if that's something that we already have contracted with Structure Point.
Structure Point is somebody that does our small structures, but I don't know if they do our large structures as well.
I think are we using the longest beam in that now?
I don't remember.
I don't either, but we do have somebody doing those.
I have a note to follow up with Brent and make sure those are the case.
Okay. Under section 5 on page 6, so this is 5C, and this is, so a lot of what I'm looking at here as I'm looking through this of the lens of us just not having a good relationship with that coal company, how that situation went down. So here, C, section 6C, it says all improvements are to be completed in accordance with county regulations and ordinance. And I just wanted to add to that, and only with the approval of the highway engineer. So I wanted to make sure that the county had every protection we could there, I guess. I wanted to make sure that our highway engineer was okay with whatever work they were going to be, whatever driveway work they were going to do.
Okay.
Just like we do with any other driveways like we did with Duracell's brother.
Right.
Page 9, section 10A, I guess Brent would be the one to give an estimate of what
That dollar amount would be, he or Steve would usually calculate the road, the linear feet, et cetera, to determine what the bond amount would be for.
Okay.
Correct.
And again, that goes down to section 11, who is going to determine the appropriate amount of performance bond and the decommissioning assurance. So in that decommissioning assurance, that's part, every time I've talked to the representatives from EDP, I've always wanted to make it so that we get a cash assurance or a cash deposit in lieu of a bond or something, if possible. So this would be on page 9, 11B. That would, if anything out of everything that we're talking about here, the sticking point for me is going to be the decommissioning and how that would be funding. I don't want it to be in a situation 20 years from now where EDP or their subsidiary goes bankrupt and we're stuck again. So I just want to be very cautious moving forward with any of that. Section 12 on page 4. Again, I'd like to ask the commissioners added to that, because currently it says that any change in the roads must be approved by highway superintendent in his sole direction. So there, I'd like the commissioners on that as well. Or have that. And I don't know, but I don't think we can do anything about this, but on page 11C, the developer may, without consent of the county, assign or transfer the agreement. I don't know, if that's what you can really do about that.
Start getting notice.
Yeah, I'll get to the bottom of it.
So if they do corporate reorganization, do anything like that, they don't, according to this, they don't need our consent, and I don't know if we would ever have that authority. So anyway, that just concerns me because that's the coal mine trick. You start it with coal company A, and then it turns into coal company B, C, and D, and then by the time you're done, you don't know who you're dealing with anymore. That's how business operates sometimes. So those are the only items I've had on the agreement regarding county roads and drains. Either do you have anything? Next up, we'll go with the certificate of authorization to proceed. I don't have any problems with the first page.
It's a one page.
Okay, yes, then the next one is a memorandum of understanding.
Which is the exhibit to the certificate.
So on page 2 of that memorandum of understanding, it says whereas, the second whereas, it says whereas the county supports the development of solar energy. I would change that language instead of supports, we would to either allow or permit, one of those two. Would that be fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So on page 3, it talks about the establishment, maintenance, and operation of the project will not impede normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for permitted uses. The project will not unduly interfere with orderly development or cause undue adverse effect on the aesthetics or natural beauty of the area. I don't know how we're going to judge that.
So I believe the way this is written is this is what the county's findings would be based upon the review of the plan, et cetera. And again, it's whether or not that it interferes, whether it unduly interferes, I think is there.
In other words, they'll give us a plan and they'll show where they're going to put trees around it to hide things or bushes.
And again, there are other documents that go along with this, which are exhibits, attachments in the plan itself. So if time can still tell on that. Before this board would make these findings set forth in number 6.
Anybody have any, you guys have anything else on that? Okay. So the one that's called White County Decommissioning Plan Agreement?
That is not ours, that was just a sample.
Right. No, I was just thinking with that sample. Guess we would,
And I did not bring a copy of that.
we would approve this, I would guess, at the same time as the other initial work, is that correct?
Be a part of the. But I would confirm that.
If it didn't look like I have any real concern with that, then again, it's not our
Right.
mission plan. I would say that on that, my main concern is making sure that the county has resources available at the end of the project to get things back to normal if things go sideways. Do either of you have anything else to discuss on EDP? So as a reminder, EDP is the one that would be in the Duff area. When you're coming from Holland, and you go to 64, the one that you look at straight across from there. This is different from the one that's across from the airport, or any of the other ones. So I guess it's still a work in progress. I don't know if they're scheduled to come in front of the county council to ask for an abatement or if they've done any of that yet.
I have not requested any abatement.
So
They didn't even request the allocation. So I'm aware of it.
So my statement on this is, just like I think I've probably said before, if a company wants to come in here and do business and there's landowners that want to lease their land to them, and it's a legal purpose, I'm gonna stay agnostic on it. I don't have a feeling, I'm not I'm not for or against it. I'm happy for the people if it works out for them. So that's why I want to change that one language to say that we're not supporting it necessarily, we're allowing and permitting it.
You're not opposing.
I'm not opposing it yet, so. I mean, I guess I have personal opinions on it, but if it's good for those landowners that want to give it up and lease it to this company, then I just want to protect the remainder of the county for 20, 30 years down the road. Anybody else? Sure. Is there anything from the EDP attorney that you'd like to say?
No, but thank you for having me here.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Mark, you have anything you'd like to share?
No, I'm waiting to hear what was gonna be discussed on AEP. I didn't know what.
Yeah, really, they just gave us some documents, I guess similar to what they've used at other places, some of them, and I just wanted us to start the discussion here of how we would want it any different than that they've done at other places. Do you have since we're in the middle of break, do you have a feeling on,
No, I've done a lot of research on their company and stuff, and what they're doing, and I think it's, they're pretty legitimate. Thing, the way they go about and the way they support the community afterwards and stuff. My concern is the other one. I forgot what the name of the company is that's looking at potentially doing one between Holland and Greenberg. That's why I didn't know which one was being discussed.
So in my experience, I've had talks with probably 4 different entities. EDP is the one that has been, we've taken time over the years to have the most of a relationship. I know the most about them than the other ones, and I believe they are further along with their leases and with their development than any of them.
Yeah.
So I would think the other ones are, at least in my experience, they're considerably further behind than EDP.
Yeah. Although I'm all for solar farms. I do think we have to protect the county in terms of going overboard on these things. So they need flat land. There's not got flat land.
Go from 0 solar parks to 5 of them in 1 year.
And I'm like Chad, you want to protect us from what happened at the coal mine
Absolutely.
25 years from now.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Like I tell the EDP people, I said, you seem really nice and I like you, but I don't trust that you will be here in 30 years or that the person after you will be trustworthy.
Yeah.
I care more about Du Bois County than they do. So, yeah, let's protect ourselves. Well, thank you for your feedback. Right. Mr. Kleinhelter, Sheriff, are you ready to go? We're a couple minutes ahead of schedule. So you're here to request a.
Well, I'm not certain if it is a request or an information. I don't know how. I guess I'm getting conflicted statements on whether this is a request, that's something you have to do, or if it's just an information on something that I'm going to do. I guess maybe we can shed some light on that.
Did you, should we have Marky in?
Should we have Marky in here?
We can. I spoke to Marky about it, so.
I didn't know. I mean.
Yeah, so let's just hear what you got.
Well, I think I sent an email out to you guys all last week or whenever that was. So what I'd like to do is take like right now, our school resource officers are merited deputies. And it works fine, don't get me wrong. The proposal that I would have is to open that up to a special deputy, i.e. a civilian employee that I can make a special deputy legally, and then have that person be able to, like right now, it's Tim Lampert is who we're talking about. And the idea would be with Tim maxed out on his pension or almost maxed out on pension, he could retire as a merited deputy, draw his pension, he's old enough to draw his pension, and then be hired as a civilian employee under the county, and then draw his pension plus special deputy wages. That's the essence of what started this. In the future, we could either go, and that's where the concern was either or, because if that goes, or if we do that, then we have one school resource officer in Ferdinand area, that would be a merited deputy, and one in Du Bois area, that would be the special deputy. So I'd like to have that flexibility, or the sheriff would have that flexibility to go either or. It is the same funded through the school. There would be no change in funding, no change in duties, except for outside of school. Outside of the school function, like we sometimes use the deputies as extra deputies through the summer months or whatever, where that would limit on what the special deputy would be allowed to do outside of school hours. Inside of school, no change whatsoever. With that said, that's why I was requesting the lower pay, to where you would have the school resource officer who is not merited making a probationary wage, because we are expecting them to do more than a jail officer, but they're not expected to do a merit deputy's work. I know it's a confusing, or it can be.
A little bit.
To somebody that's not
So what is his,
involved in that.
what is his current wage then? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay. And, okay, so Marky, I guess the reason I'd like to hear your part on it.
Yeah.
So is the job description written up in such a way currently that it has to be a merited deputy?
It's just SRO/deputy is what it is. So we would probably, I would like to differentiate them if we could, which would be easily done. We could actually put on there SRO merit deputy, SRO civilian.
Special deputy.
Special deputy.
So you talk about changing class, you're talking about a class, then, a classification of the job.
Yes,
Either you're this or you're this.
yes.
Because I think when we created the line item, it was because that's what he was at the time.
They were merited deputies.
They were
They were
merited
merited
deputies,
deputies,
that's why
right,
I
yeah.
asked.
So they're under the M poll.
Right, so
And-
instead of, then we do a C poll
Yeah,
SRO and an M poll SRO.
Correct.
it's exactly what we have right now at the courthouse. So like Tom Bell is at the courthouse as courthouse security. He was a merited deputy. He retired as a deputy and then got a job as a jail officer and then was made a special deputy at the courthouse. So it's no different there. The only difference is between Tom and Tim is, like I told Tim that he's gonna keep his police certification where Tom let his lack. So he does not have police powers anymore outside of the special deputy power that we're allowed to give him. And that is, he has police powers inside of the courthouse, inside of the annex on county property, where this person would be allowed to have the police powers on school property.
So they still have the power to arrest?
Now, that's something that everybody can limit, of course. If somebody's available to make that arrest versus him, then yeah, that's what we would do that. But he would be given the power to detain, to work crimes. Anything serious, we'd probably want our detectives to work just like it is today, so. There's really not a lot of change in it at all.
It seemed to me whenever I read the law that you said that you can deputize people and give them a wide range of duties.
Mhm.
So even if you hire a civilian to do that work, will they still need to be, I don't remember what your language was, will they still need to have that police training?
So the grant that the schools got for the SRO, that is a requirement from their grant, that they have to have been through the academy.
So you couldn't get
You couldn't hire me.
Not as a school resource officer.
Right.
No.
unless you hire them and they go through that.
Yeah.
And as far as the pay, so the schools,
the
county pays some portion of it, right? Because the amount of
Yes.
grant is.
The school pays $75,000 a
They get
year.
35,000 twice a year.
And then whatever is over that vehicle or
Right.
And
certain things we pay for
it's
that.
under us.
Would we still provide a vehicle?
We would, yeah.
And then
I would want everything to be kept the same there as far as we're in charge of his training. We're paying for his uniforms, the vehicle, just to have that vehicle sitting at the school.
Well, they kind of need something to go from school to school. So
Yeah.
All one location.
that's one of the biggest benefits is having a vehicle parked there.
Right.
So the probation pay, I mean, is this like $500 less a year?
No, it's well, it started out, I guess it's a little more now since we've been given a couple raises, but it was, if you remember, it was 3% less than the deputy, the second class deputy, and then there's 3% less than that.
So $1,500, $2,000.
Yeah, somewhere into
range. So
that area.
as far as, the way I look at it, I guess, is the sheriff thinks it's a good idea, and I think it's a fine idea. We're getting the same thing, we're paying a little less for.
Yeah. I mean, it's no cost. It's no cost for us. It's no different to the schools. And Tim has already had that conversation with Du Bois. I have not had an opportunity to speak to Dr. Rashi about that, but I know that she was on board with it.
So what stops them from being a deputy and continuing to earn more service years?
Say that again.
You know how right now if they're a deputy, they have so many service years, and when they get to 32 or whatever you just did, what stops that clock from going? They're just capped out?
They're capped out,
So then he couldn't earn any more anyway.
He could, so the way our pension is our pension is based on your 5 highest paid years. So yes, he could make a few dollars more even if he hits that 33, 34 year mark. It still could be one of his highest 5.
His high 5 quarters.
Yeah.
Would then apply to that, which would be higher later in his career than earlier.
Yeah.
Anybody have any concerns with this?
I hope it kind of opens the pool up too. as far
It
as-
will. I know that we have taken some informational questions from other police officers that have retired, since retired, and asked about a job like this, so it would open that pool. And we're not getting a lot of interest in positions like this from younger deputies, so.
I would say I'll support it as long as you'll just work with Mr. Rhodes to make sure that we have the job description written up in a way that is good for everyone.
Then we'll put the job class, whole changes.
Yeah.
And,
But as long as we don't eliminate a class, right?
Yeah.
No, I think we should add a class of
Right, add it, but
civilian
not.
special deputy,
Yeah.
C-pole 2 or 3 or whatever it is.
So in this case, it's M-pole now?
I'm pretty sure it's
It should be, so now.
But you're M-pole or you're merited deputy.
Yes, and then it would say
And then
slash.
you've got C-poles, which would be your not merited deputy, like your jailers.
And that's what we would just call him, as essentially a jailer.
So you hired him under your, like Tom and them under
Yeah.
the jail, and then they would be C-poles. So then it's already there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we just need to put it in the job description that it's the one SRO is a with deputy behind it is continued where it's at, and another SRO with the civilian. That we're talking about.
Yeah.
Have 2 separate.
Two.
So then he would no longer be under the pension, then he would start earning perf.
Well, and I don't even
Because your
know.
jailers are in perf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the next thing is when would this take effect? I guess especially for PERF, we would have to decide
Yeah,
that.
you'd have to
Or
have-
even his pension, we gotta have some clean breaks. and
Yeah.
stuff, So.
I
don't know if that's been changed.
We haven't even actually talked about it. I mean, I don't know.
Effective January 1st probably, make it a clean year.
That's when the new grant, or the new contract starts anyhow, or the contract starts on January 1st. It's not a school year grant, so.
Police, did you have anything to add?
I mean, the only question I had, what about, like the summertime, what would he do when school's not in session?
So,
I mean, would he not work or would he?
yeah, he's gonna work. So obviously we have plenty of work for either a deputy or a jail. Summer's our busy time for vacations. And one thing that we've always stressed to school resource officers anyhow is their primary job is a school. So try to take most of your vacation and your training hours in the summer, spring break, fall break, when school's not in session. That way you're at the school when they are. And this summer they both worked. This summer was a little different. We had one that was had a surgery and was on medical leave, and the other one just kind of did a lot of training. Going forward, Tim is a certified trainer, so we had talked about him possibility of holding a lot of trainings for our staff next year so that we don't have to pay so much to send them trainings. Because everybody up there is mandated on how many hours they have to get. So you always have people that are struggling to get those hours in by the end of the year. So be somebody like that. Now, when Tim's no longer there and that next person isn't, then they may help in the jail. They might help at the courthouse. transports. Never a question on what to keep somebody busy.
Well, thanks.
Any other questions?
So, yeah, I think we just wanted to, I guess it'll be a bit of a working through to find out how we do it on the books, but I mean, as far as a thing, we're okay with.
Right, well, right now you have him budgeted for 24 as a deputy,
Right.
so would you need to?
We would change that probably if, I'll go to
We
the
change that
council and have
from
the same
deputy
conversation.
to jail, because right now it's in the sheriff department as a
I don't
deputy.
know. I don't know which,
Or would you just continue to pay, well, then he'd be a deputy?
I mean, he can be a deputy. I mean, I have civilian staff on the deputy side, so it really doesn't matter. According to the special deputy statute, they just need to be a county employee. So I don't think that, to me, that's semantics wherever we put them, if we change it.
Well, I was just hoping we had the right line items for him, you know what I mean, because you're gonna lose a deputy in the long run, but you're not really, because he's already there.
Yeah, and I know that since when we were granted that SRO position, we lost that as a deputy. Anyway, that, so to speak, that if we ever lost that grant funding, the council would have to approve that funding to continue, otherwise, so.
Okay, so I say, I'm gonna move that we approve to whatever level we need to, the ability of the sheriff to have a civilian or a merited deputy to work as a school resource officer in any school as he sees fit. One second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Carries. Thank you. Hey, I do have a question for you, Sheriff, while you're here.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I doubt you were watching our meeting earlier, but we had a discussion about courthouse security and opening the back door back out to downtown Merchant in the city of Jasper. We're talking about that. What was my question? I was just gonna ask your opinion on that again, is two things. Is the responsibility for this courthouse security, is it the sheriff's responsibility or is it the judge's responsibility?
I've been under the impression that the sheriff takes care of security inside the courtrooms. The judge sets up security for the facility.
Okay. And would it be your understanding that the security committee that we will sit on over time, the ideal situation would be to have a single entrance would be to have maybe a metal detector, we search people as they come in, that single entrance, that would be the long-term goal.
The long-term goal, yes.
And one of the suggestions that was brought to us was to leave that west door open, but then have it basically locked, so you can't get any further than that.
On the inside one?
Yeah.
So they would use the restrooms and then have the interior one
And
locked?
then they'd have to go back outside. So one thing we were concerned about, somebody could put an explosive device or could do something in the basement there. I don't know, I didn't know if you had any feedback on it or if you had listened to the.
I did not listen. I do know that since we locked it, it's been easier to manage security and manage people, because you know that they're coming in one door. And anybody that comes through the bottom door is an employee of the county and they're using their fob.
Nobody has access except very few of
Yeah.
us. They took that access away, and now if they go out to smoke, they walk around to come back in.
The other thing with that is if we have our security officer, one of our officers watching the screen, it's going to be a more rare occurrence that someone's coming in that basement, so it will catch your attention, I would think.
It would, but it's also nice to where you don't have to have that guy watching that camera all the time, because he's only got one door to focus on. So if he goes in Sandy's office or in the clerk's office, you still know that somebody's coming in, and that's the only door that they're coming in. If you use the bottom door and you lock, I mean, it's not a big deal. You just move that key fob, I guess, to the inside door. But
our concern was that if anyone on the inside of the courthouse, an employee or a member of the public, they could go push it open and let people in.
Yes.
So they could do that now, I suppose.
or do something in that restroom that.
Anyway, it's a tough situation because we care about the downtown merchants and we want the people to be able to use the public building, but my number one thing is that the people that work there are safe.
Right. I think where we're, my opinion is where we're at on the safety committee. I think we took a step forward by locking that door, and I feel better about the safety of the employees now that that door's locked. I don't know if I have a great alternative in my head where I feel like we would stay on the same level if we opened it back up.
Fabulous, thank you, sir.
All right,
Have a
thank you
great
guys.
day.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Looks like we have no more items on the agenda. Is there anything else?
I don't have anything additional.
Anything from the public or from everyone's favorite council president?
Mike?
Yeah,
So I guess we'll close the meeting then.